message again. What the fuck is going on?
What's up, and welcome to Three Brothers. Nah, that ain't right, but it is Two Brothers and a Shot of Milk. I'm Jack Walker Pearson. We got Richard Wilson up here going nuts in the corner, and Christopher St. Victor. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking movies, TVs, comic books, animes, action figures, and so much more. Today, we're going to be diving into Alien Romulus and Watchmen Chapter 1. But before we get to all that, gentlemen, how have your weeks been? What have you been up to? What have you been watching? What have you been reading? What have you been playing? What you been doing?
I copped a new pea shooter this week, which is cool.
Is that content adjacent?
That's well, I'm just telling you, it's a big move in my life, Jack.
It's content adjacent for his life.
It's like this big. It feels like you're an 1800s duel guy. Like, right. I want to slap someone with a glove and challenge them to a duel with it. And then I got a new remote control car. I got a Focus ST rally car, 4-wheel drive rally car.
Like the big guy?
1/10 scale from tracks, which is
how
awesome.
fast that one go?
60. It's a lot more fun. So it's a lot more fun than my on-road car because it's more versatile. So you can do a lot more stuff with it because you can jump it still, but it's still fast and still stable. So it's cool. Nice. But as pertaining to what we do, I got nothing for you. That's it.
Well, the car is pretty content accurate.
Well, the car is nerd adjacent, right? It's geek adjacent. Yeah. So yeah. According to TLC, I'm still salty about that. That really kind of hit me in the feels.
Oh, good stuff.
Rich?
What have I been doing? Yes, hi, how you doing? I've been doing much, just working again, still figuring out my life. What have I been? I've been playing season 5 for Diablo 4. So I've been grinding through that. Again, catching these dubs in Resurgence and Call of Duty. Come see me. Anyway. What I've been watching, Umbrella Academy season 4. I finished that. How is that? It was mildly entertaining going through it, but the end was just.
Well, they have one more season left, right?
No, that's done. They're done. It's over.
They're done. That's it.
Yeah,
the series is over.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! So I gotta watch. I gotta finish season 2, I believe.
All right.
You know what happened? Because this is kind of just. I was watching Umbrella Academy. I liked it. Then I watched the Watchmen, the HBO Max Watchmen series, and then I tried to go back to Umbrella Academy, and I couldn't because Watchmen was so much better than Umbrella Academy. I'm like, I can't watch this.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. What else? Well, Skeleton Knight in Another World. I finished that. The Elusive Samurai just started, which is pretty all right so far. And then Rick and Morty, the anime.
Yo, how is that? I'll watch. I saw it launched officially.
Yeah, it launched officially. Yeah, so episode 1, I believe. Episode 1 is out now. So yeah, it's all right. It's just everything in anime theme. You can watch it in sub and dub.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it new adventures or is it completely new story? Is it new? Or
it's a new adventure from the looks of it. So it's not like remade stuff. They're just taking old stuff and putting it into animation form. It's a new adventure.
Yeah.
Rich, can you confirm Solo Leveling? I hear the dub is way better than the sub. The voice acting.
I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at it. I've been looking at the sub, so that's the ones I was looking at.
I always watch the sub also, but I heard that the dub is actually far superior.
I will go back and give it another watch. I mean, it's a good time either way, so I'm gonna go back and give it another watch with the dubs, and I'll let you know.
Anything else this week?
That's it.
It's a good week. That's a good week. Solid week. I haven't done much. I worked a lot this week, and I'm still actively in the process of unpacking boxes and letting things go.
How's that going?
Slower than I had hoped. Work doesn't make it easier.
Yeah.
I've been riding my bike a lot this week. I put in 60 miles
Dang.
60 miles on the
Okay.
bicycle this week. It's about 10 miles back and forth. So I've been doing that, which is good. I'm gonna be looking. Jack's gonna be looking jacked
There
by
you
the end of
go.
the month.
Okay.
Hey,
All
hey,
right.
hey.
All right.
And what else? What else? What else? I picked up a lot of comics. I'm not going to go through them, but my local comic. This will be in the news. My local comic book shop is closing.
Krusty Bunker's closing down.
I guess we'll get into the news right now. So this is a news segment. I'll do it now, though. The Neil Adams Krusty Bunker is closed at the end of today. Today is the
Oh,
last day.
shoot.
So
Oh.
if you're watching this near the Burbank area, take your laptop, your phone, or even your desktop with you, but head on down to the Krusty Bunker because by the time we're done, it'll be closed and you'll have missed it. But everything is at least 50% off right now.
Damn.
It's everything must go kind of idea. They had a rough time after all the strikes, and obviously there was the COVID situation that happened, and then a lot more strikes, and then Neil Adams passed, and then there were more union strikes and stuff, and so it'd been a real rough time for them. A couple of months ago, they stopped having new comics on the shelf, like
Oh.
they were financially doing that poorly. And now they're closing their brick and mortar. They say they might have an online presence, and there are so many comics in their store right now. I can't. They're not getting rid of everything today. So,
Yeah.
but toys, comics, memorabilia, everything was just go go go.
Damn. That's
That
tough. It's tough to
sucks.
see, man.
Yeah.
Mine over here, Carpe Diem, closed down a month ago too. I think it's tough for the brick and mortar comic shops. It really is.
It's tough for brick and mortar nowadays, But yeah, especially this town with all the industry strikes and everything that's been going on this year, it's been one of the hardest years financially in California in decades. So it's sad, but I kind of understand why it's happening. We got some people in the chat showing love. Connie Alaska in the house. Connie Alaska,
What up?
I hear you saw the Deadpool Wolverine movie today. Would love to hear your thoughts on that in the
No.
chat.
What'd you think, Connie?
We got Hunter Ziggy in the house. Three brothers and a shot of milk. Rumors are going around the internet that Amanda Waller is gonna be dark and more grounded.
Yeah, or you're gonna see his eyes and teeth when she's on screen.
I'm not sure that's what
Wow.
he's talking about.
Wow.
And Connie Alaska says, "Oh no, sorry about your comic shop." Yeah, I was too, but I think I don't know why things happen in this world, but I think things happen for a reason, and I think that my connection to that comic shop, other than it just turned out to be the local comic book shop I would always go to, I made good friends with one of the guys there, Paxton, and I think specifically for him, this will be the best thing for him because it's going to force him out of the nest. And he's got a lot more on his plate to go explore. So this will be good for him. I'm excited for him. I'm sad for the shop. I'm sad for myself. I'm grateful for the deals that are happening right now. But, everything happens for a reason. So,
where you gonna go, Jack?
say again?
Where you gonna go?
I don't know. There are a lot of comic book shops in Burbank. I like the Krusty Bunker best. I think the better comic book not in this area. It's about 12 miles up. Is Galaxy Comics, but they got good everything. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, do you guys know why the Terminator crossed the road?
No, why?
Why?
I don't know either, but I'm pretty sure he'll be back.
That's what I thought about it. Wait.
Come on.
Oh,
Come on.
man. Listen, I got one. I got a joke.
Okay.
Listen.
Let's hear it.
A cow goes moo, a cat goes meow, and the dog goes, Edward, big brother Edward. Y'all not anime fans. All of y'all. All of y'all not anime fans. I'm done. I'm done with this.
All
I'm
right.
done with y'all. You know
let
what?
me
I'm out of here.
Let me have a shot. What's the difference between Iron Man and Iron Woman?
Uh,
One's a superhero and one's gonna get us canceled.
Exactly. One's a superhero, one's a command.
All right. Well, on that note, and I do not co-sign on Chris's joke here. We're gonna leave this segment as quickly as possible. Head on down the road, cross all the lights. We're gonna find ourselves at the Collector's Corner. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Show and tell time.
It's
In this
show
segment,
and tell
Show and tell
time.
time.
hey, surround sound. We're taking toys off our toys out of our. What are we taking? The toys out of our toy trunks, comic books out of the cases, video games out of the vaults. Whatever it is we got to show, we're taking them. We're showing them to the rest of the world. They can be worth millions of dollars, or just sentimental. Gentlemen,
Yeah.
what have you got? No shots at anybody this week. It's
I'll go.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Jack. I
I'll
appreciate
go
that.
first.
Well,
I'll go first. I'll go first.
okay, go ahead, Rich.
Because I'm watching My Hero Academia, which I know I'm the only one watching it here, so it is what it is. But listen, it's getting intense, as I've been saying for the past few weeks. So I just pulled off the shelf my Tomaru
nice.
Shigaraki. Will you focus for me? You probably won't, but this is the battle damage one. It's not the latest version of him. I'm not sure if that's out on the shelves yet, but I'll try to find it if it is. But yeah, battle damage. And I was like, let me get my all for one out too, because the only one that I have of him.
That was pretty dope.
He's not focusing.
You gotta take the background blur off.
I do have to take it, but the
We should do that for
blur
the
is so
segment.
sophisticated.
You can put it back on. You can put it back on. I'm gonna take it off for the segment too. Actually,
It's just super sophisticated. All right, there we go.
Here it is. Yes, yes, we can see everything now.
I'm all for one in the suit. But if you're watching the series, you know now he's no longer wearing the mask anymore. He no longer needs the mask.
Oh shoot!
And then we'll pop Shigaraki back up there again, just to get a better look at him, seeing battle damage. This from last season with this battle damage, but it's I haven't found the latest version of him yet. So boom, there we go.
So his sidekick is Thing.
His sidekick is Thing.
The Thing.
No, what do you mean?
Because he got a hand on his face.
No, what? No,
he got a hand on his face.
That's not bro. That's because you know what?
He's not from Addams Family.
I can't deal with y'all. I cannot deal with you non-anime watching hooligans. Okay.
Rich,
Chris, what do you got, Chris?
Before Rich, what's that uncanny '90s X-Men action figure behind you?
Uncanny.
Looks like Wolverine.
Oh, this one. I showed this one. I definitely showed this one. Wolverine.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
Very
I found him in what's the name of the place? In the Palisades. No, in the Palisades Mall, the place I go to from time to time. Right under the movie theater.
Very cool. All right. My turn?
Yeah.
So I felt jealous. So I had to jump on the bandwagon and I copped that Batman thing 2-pack joint.
Okay.
I like Bane's got like back hair.
He does. I mean, he's a man. He's a real man over here.
Yeah, but he's got to be like taking testosterone tablets.
Tablets? He's not taking tablets. That's going right to the bloodstream, brother.
Tablets.
That's 700 cc's right to the bloodstream. Triple sandwiches. But yeah, I have a shelf that's gonna be dedicated to that, so it's gonna be him breaking Batman over his knee.
I don't know how you let Lawrence beat you to the punch on that one, Chris.
You know, that's a good question. Life is life, and Jack. What am I tell you, man?
No, that's accurate enough. Life is life, and
yeah.
Are you gonna do a dueling unboxing of it?
Probably not. Actually, you know what I do have in the can that I just made is a Ross video.
A Ross?
So the treasures
shopping at Ross?
Oh, shop. Okay.
The treasures of Ross.
Oh, you got to drop that.
Yeah, I just finished.
I hear there's been an outcry for Bash and Chris go to Walmart.
We've been doing. You know what? It's been tough with school, but we're gonna do it.
School.
But he's in the Ross video. He's a big part of the Ross video. So
Okay.
We'll be all right. You'll be all
That's
right.
what's up.
I'm gonna hand it over to you, Jack.
All right, let's go back to the chat for a second. We got ETC in the house.
What
Hey
up?
y'all.
Yo,
What's up,
what's up?
ETC? C23 says, Jack, my Alexa said it was because he wanted to be next to you. Ha 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 ha. Why the Terminator crossed the road so he could be next to me, I guess.
Yeah, he did. Because Skynet.
Deadpool, right? Well, you heard about the Terminator who serves coffee and eggs, right?
No.
Yeah, it was he worked at the Cyber Diner.
Oh my god.
Ah,
Oh my god.
No,
Okay.
it's Terminator jokes for the rest of the show. C23 also says, Deadpool, I dare them to be better with the next movie. Deadpool dare him to be better with the next movie
I
if we're
dare him
getting a
to.
next movie.
Give it to me, baby.
And ETC says, if you guys are still doing the show and tell, should check out on Facebook
Oh,
Messenger
I'm
what I've got
I'm
for
on it,
you.
ETC.
All right, Chris
I
is
did
on.
see you did send us a message. Hold on 1 second. Jack, show what you got, and then we'll go to ETC.
All right, so I'm showing a few items today. I did an unboxing video the other day of my Cyborg Superman, and I was really, really happy with this purchase. And then I was like, am I going to do modifications on this figure? I already like it so much. I don't think so. And then I started doing like a light shading. I couldn't help myself. And before I knew it, I'd opened the gateway and I just completely redid them. So here's my modified McFarlane Cyborg Superman.
Wait a second.
Damn, Jack.
So
It
Yeah.
you
looks
painted
fine,
over it
right?
already?
Yeah, but so what I did is I started by adding him the one human hand because he had both metal hands. And
Uh
I was like, the one human hand like changed the whole scope of him. And I was like, well, then I got to do the half blue. But I still liked his robot legs. So I kept the robot legs and just add a little more silver to it. And then I ended up taking a knife to his face and carving in the second half of it so I could just make the whole thing metal. Because
wow.
the the other version of him, the whole front half is human and the bottom half is metal. But
Yeah.
that's not exactly accurate. He's way more like a ripped up Terminator look. So
That looks
I just
dope, Jack.
I just went in, yeah. And so now the problem is I'm gonna have to take this giant Death of Superman display down, open it up, take out the other modified version, and pop this bad boy in because he's just definitely superior at this
That
point.
sculpt on that is fire, Jack. And with
Okay.
the mod, the thing looks it looks like a super expensive figure.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is they're actually selling two versions of this figure. The version I got is going for about $20,
Right.
and there's another version that has the more traditional 90s paint job. It's the same sculpt, so they just painted over it different, so it looks kind of cheap.
No.
And it's about 50 to $80 to try to pick that one up. And
Huh.
so
Nice.
yeah, and I saw that after I started modifying this one anyway, and this mod in my opinion looks way better than their mod, and it's just a paint job, and I've actually gone in and recarved certain elements of this thing. So super happy with how that turned out. Can't wait to put them into display. I also want to show you guys this little guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got
Or-
this at the Krusty Bunker. It was closing. I picked it up because my pop's favorite figure was Thor, and every time I see Thor, I feel a little nostalgic, you know, and so I
Okay.
buy it in honor of my pop, and I have it up on my desk. And since I'm honoring my family members, I also picked this up for my brother because
She-Hulk.
Of course, it's not entirely appropriate. I don't know that this cover is aged very well. This is Fantastic Four number 275, and it's got a young Stan Lee
Yeah.
going, "Hey guys, what's big and green with staples in her navel?" And he's clearly got a pinup of She-Hulk that he's
Uh,
looking at. So,
yeah.
brother, this is for you, and that's my show and tell.
Awesome.
Nice.
Got a
Nice.
few more in the chat.
Yeah. Go ahead.
ETC says one thing I picked up at Target was the Guy Gardner Superpowers line. Right,
Okay.
it's the last one he needed from the series. Chris might have a picture of that.
Yep. Let me share.
And ETC, that Cyborg Superman video was great. Digging the mod version. ETC, thanks for watching our content, man. Really appreciate it. And I'm
So
glad you enjoyed the video.
yeah, so this is ETC's haul. So this is what I need. I have the Batman from the like the blister pack Batman, but now they actually have a seven. I had the 6-inch ones. This is a 7-inch Batman 66.
Isn't that the
Um,
Watusi one I've been making fun of?
yeah, I need that in my life. ETC, did you open this up yet? This is ETC's haul. Then we got the Jim Carrey Riddler, dope. And then he got Clooney Batman. Very, very cool. And the next
Clooney
shot,
Batman.
yo, that Black Manta's was dope. People were going crazy in the on the subreddit for the superpower subreddit for this Black Manta. I think you should check the value because I think it's worth a couple $100.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. He got Mephisto, Superman, Booster Gold, and Batman. ETC.
I like those looks.
Yeah. ETC, nice haul. Check the value of that Black Manta because people are going crazy in the Facebook groups and the subreddit about that Black Manta. So you may have a gem on your hands here, brother. So good haul.
Nice. Man, I like those ones actually. I like that Superman. I like the Batman S too. Connie Alaska says go Thor. She'll says hilarious. And Pop Johnson in the house. Nice show and tell, y'all. ETC back with one more. I never opened them up. They're completely
Hermetically.
nice.
Hermetically sealed.
Whoa,
Nice.
that Black Manta is going for a couple $100. It's
Yeah.
it's $10 on
Batman.
Amazon right now.
It's
What?
$10.
Val
Maybe it was the first release of that Black Manta. Oh,
Right.
that's the one.
All right. Well, that's show and tell. I think it's time for some news.
It's time for the news.
The news. That's right. You want to hit me with that sound cue, Rick?
Job breaking news.
I got two.
So we
here.
talked about
Oh,
the
this is
Crusty
one.
Bunker. So we'll leave that one alone. Charlie Cox has addressed Daredevil Born Again, saying that he's actually not going to comment on it because the creative reset was far more complicated to explain than he'd have time for. Not entirely sure what I think that means, but the trailer looked dope.
It did.
Alien Romulus apparently had a operating budget of approximately $80 million, which sounds like a tremendous amount of money, but in today's movie making standards is actually not that much. And it has gone on to dethrone Wolverine and Deadpool at the box office. Wolverine and Deadpool, which had a $275 million budget.
Oh, shoot.
Netflix is, as we all of course know, is dropping their anime Terminator series, Terminator Zero, August 29th, which I'm hoping we review because I'm planning on watching it. And they just released a sneak peek for any of you guys out there who want to see it. There is a sneak peek scene of the Terminator assembly process.
Actually, if I could find it real quick, not on YouTube, we can actually watch it.
Well, we'll watch it with the sound off. If you find it, we'll go back and watch it with the sound off. But the anime style looks great. The story looks like it's going to be good. He's headed to Tokyo. The Terminator is headed to Tokyo in this one to take some people out. And I'm hoping it's going to be a banger because the trailer looks dope. For all you... Did you find it?
I think I found it. Not on Netflix. I mean, not on YouTube.
All right. Well, if you find it, just stop me and we'll jump into it.
Well, I'm stopping you right now, Jack.
Well, stop me. Let's do it. Let's
stop.
Rich is done. He's like, "What's going on, man? What is going on?" Yo, this is the trailer for it. Straight anime, Sundance. Yep. This is the guy they're going to go get.
Where does this take place in the Terminator universe? What time period?
That I would be lying to give you a straight up answer, but I think it's set in the 90s. He goes back to like 97 Tokyo to take out some engineer scientist dude. Sick.
It looks pretty dope. I'm probably watching. I'll watch this too.
I mean, it looks very anime, but it's also very Terminator. It looks like a really good blend of the two genres. This is the Terminator process that you saw him getting submerged. This is the scene where you see him. That's the scene they released for the sneak peek. It's like 2 minutes long. Dope.
Yeah.
Terminator Zero.
I think I have that saved on my watch list, my wait list, or whatever.
Yeah, I can't wait to jump into that. For all you Lego heads out there, you're gonna like this news. If you like video games, this is for all ages. If you like video games and you like Legos, the Lego World Coalition is releasing the Ultimate Assembly. They are going to sell you all 18 Lego video games, as well as a coupon for the 19th upcoming Lego video game for a grand total of, guess how much?
$150.
$20.
$15.
Word?
For $15. That's less than $1 a game, including the new one, which has not been released yet. You can have every single Lego video game that's out there.
That's a deal.
Yo,
They're pretty fun,
I would
Lego games.
Oh, all the Lego games are great. I have not played a Lego video game that I did not enjoy. The only problem is you're going to need more hard drive space.
Yep.
Hey, yo. Mondo Toys has just revealed... See if you can find a picture for this one, Chris. Mondo Toys has just revealed their 1/6 scale Lion-O for their new Thundercats action figure line. And this thing looks pretty sick. If Chris can find a picture, we'll show it to you. In the meantime, I'll keep it pushing.
I got it right here.
He's got it already. That was quick. He did that in real time, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even have to burn the clock down that much.
Or do you?
Or did I?
No. Here it is.
Dude, check this guy out. The sculpt on this guy looks good.
Jack.
I know. Look at the texture, man. And he is, he's got, I mean, this guy is fully articulate. He's got several head sculpts. Yeah. He is looking so heroic. He's looking so heroic. It's wild that he's so lame in some of these series.
Look at him. Look at the cat. Like, that's pretty dope. How much is this going to be?
Whatever it is, it's not enough.
Oh, they got two. Okay, all right. So they got more of the animated one, and they got more of a more quote unquote real.
Right, so you can get those head swaps.
Yeah,
swapping.
Yeah,
check those out.
There it is.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a lot of head 12 there, inches. Ladies and gentlemen.
12 inches. Hey,
nothing wrong with that.
It's a 1/6 line. In other news, in other toy news, perhaps toy news, the alien Romulus face huggers in the movie, Rich, you might already know this, they're all animatronic. So they're actually running around on set. There's some CGI enhancement here and there when they're on the thing, but
that's what I'm talking about with this movie. They went back to the practical special effects, and
it worked.
Oh,
it worked. And they said it wasn't creepy. It was like really disturbing on set sometimes to see these things running after you. But word on the street, and this may be part of the rumor mill, Chris, they might be actually releasing some of these face huggers to the public. And look at NECA's already got one, but I'm talking about, that's disgusting, by the way. What I'm talking about is like
coming to a fleshlight near you. Like what?
There you go. So get yourself your own little remote control face hugger. DC Comics has just announced a sequel to the long-awaited, and this just dropped last year, so it's not that long-awaited, Batman and Santa Claus crossover, which was called Silent Night.
Did you watch the first one? It was like I never watched the first one.
Well, is it a show? I'm talking about the comic.
Oh! There was a Batman Amazon cartoon that I never watched. I thought this was it.
Oh, yes. That was like older dad Batman. No, this
Yeah.
is a comic book where Santa Claus is kind of a badass and he's teaming up with Batman. The sequel is going to be called Silent Night Returns. Original.
Nice.
Okay, here's a bit of real world news about lucid dreaming.
Oh.
Do you guys know what lucid dreaming is?
Yeah, it's when you can control your dreams, right?
There you go. It's when you can control your dreams. Now, science has found a way to link real life with the lucid dream.
This is Total
Now, this
Recall.
is crazy. This is crazy. Here's what they're
This is
saying.
Total
Scientists
Recall.
have been able to help lucid dreamers control virtual simulated cars on computers while dreaming, turn on lights while dreaming, and start a kettle like on the stove all while lucid dreaming. Studies have shown that about half of the population has had at least one lucid dream in their life, and 1/5 the population has a lucid dream at least once every month.
You
But
know who's gonna jump on this technology, right? There's one industry very, very specific that's gonna jump on this technology. And it's the same industry that pioneered DVDs.
porn industry? What are you saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. The DVDs were pioneered by the pornography industry.
Well, I don't not believe it. Well, here was the other thing that I was kind of like, I don't know how I have feelings about. I have had a series of lucid dreams in my life, and there's nothing quite as exhilarating as a lucid dream because you might as well be awake, but there's no rules, right? And so every lucid dream I've ever had, I've flown. It doesn't matter what's going on. I just take to the sky and start flying around. Like, what else am I going to do? Because I realize I'm in a dream and I know I'm going to wake up, so I might as well enjoy it while it lasts. But they say they're actually going to make it so they're cracking the code on it. Scientists have said, and they're going to make it so anyone can have lucid dreams. And they're saying in the next 10 to 20 years, you'll actually be able to solve real world problems in your lucid dream state. So like if you needed to finish that work thing or you needed to do that thing or whatever that thing was. And that's when I started getting like, you're
Yeah, I'm
telling me
good.
you're going to crack the code on one of the greatest things, the human
Sucker
subconscious,
work, like,
and you're going to make us work in our dreams?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on that one.
yeah, all right.
I like my
Anyway.
sleep way better.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. But honey, it was a dream. I had no control of it. NECA has already begun their pre-orders for the new Alien Romulus toys. The Xenomorph is going to stand 9 inches tall when fully erect and boast a hefty 23 points of articulation. It comes with...
I'm not even Googling that. I say that right now.
It's going to come with some face hugger accessories, and they're saying each of the figures probably around $39.99.
9 inches erect, you'll get some face hugging, all right.
Yeah, you will.
Oh boy. Sorry guys. Sorry for all you guys out there watching. Anyway, here we go. And our last bit of news is some San Diego Comic-Con toy releases. Mattel's working on a new Masters of the Universe line, which looks sick. Hasbro's introducing a new X-Men line. Marvel Legends is dropping the ROM action figure finally, and it looks pretty sick. And Jada Toys is dropping an entire Super Street Fighter 2 lineup. And Chris, if you find these toys,
Are those the metal ones? How you spell Jabba?
Jada.
Oh,
Jada.
they don't they do the metal toys?
I don't know, but these Super Street Fighter 2 toys look official. I mean, they look right out of the video game,
Yeah, I got it right
uh,
here.
and they look great. And what it leads me to believe is that 2025 is going to be a spectacular year for toys. And while Chris is pulling that up, let's go back to some of these chats.
Some of these chats.
So usually Jada, they do a lot of the die cast metal toys. But
Yeah.
here is their
Yeah.
this one.
Oh, bad.
Here's a Ryu.
Is this these coming out 2024? These ones already out,
These, I look like these are already out. I can order this on Amazon.
but it's not
These are the
pre-ordered.
Jada. No, it says I'll have them tomorrow if I order it.
Yeah, they have another. I think there's another line they're doing, and they have all the figures out,
Interesting.
and they look. I mean, they look really good. Let's see. C23 says, "Yeah, buy them toys, etc., but open them." That's the sentiment. I'm paraphrasing, ladies and gentlemen. That's what C23 is saying. Open those toys. No one plays with their socks anymore. I may have misread that one. Sick. That's freaking sick. Says Corey Pearson in the house. He's epic. He must
What
be
up,
talking about
Corey?
me. If he's not talking about me, he might be talking about the Lion-O. Teen Titans established Santa as a villain. Really? Real lumps of coal.
Huh.
I believe it. What? Fire risk and creepy.
Oh, talking about the lucid dreaming, turning on the stove.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they were like hooked up to things, so it was like their muscles were the things actually kind of like driving the car was their muscle movements. It's like sleepwalking. Well, they weren't actually out of the bed; they were still kind of like in sleep paralysis mode. Chris is right on the pioneering of the DVD industry. Let's not forget our society is built on sex, drugs, and rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Sex,
Facts.
drugs, and rock and roll. You heard it here, not first, just again. Santa Claus is a megalomaniac bent on world domination. Really? This is in the comics or this is in real life? Is a robot?
Oh, she is a robot. Said
Yeah.
Santa Claus us a robot, and that was a correction. She made a correction.
Oh! I thought we were bleeping. Sorry, Connie Alaska. I thought we were bleeping a word. Was trying to decide what word I thought that was. And Claus is not a robot. She's enhanced. Period.
Teen Titans Go is canon for Santa. Period. Corey put his foot down on that one. All right.
Well, speaking about putting our foot downs, I think it's time for a debate.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Nope.
There we go. Let's get the new one in there.
Right. And Connie Alaska clarifies that we're talking about real life. Santa's evil beware. Pretty sure that's
Listen. As a kid that grew up with no chimney, there ain't no Santa Claus in my house. Right? That was always the questions. Always the questions we asked, like, well, how does Santa Claus get presents into the house? We don't have a chimney.
For a sliding door, man.
No, because my dad will shoot him. My dad will not allow intruders into this house. He will get shot.
Santa's too fast, man. He's like a ninja. Magical ninja.
My dad nipped that in the bud real quick. He's like, I'm your Santa Claus. I'm like,
okay. We gonna have little ears, Rich.
All right, here's the debate, ladies and gentlemen. Today's debate is Ellen Ripley versus Sarah Connor. Now, let me clarify, though. That's Ripley from Aliens 2, meaning she already had the experience. So we're coming on with a seasoned Ripley versus Sarah Connor from Terminator 2, which means she's already had the experience and she already had the TV series that came out between the time of T1 and T2, right? No one watched it, but it happened. The
Yeah.
Sarah Connor Chronicles is still canon. So Sarah Connor Prime versus Ripley Prime. Now here's the caveat though. They both have their unprimed versions with them that they have to protect. So
Okay.
Ripley 1 is with Ripley from part 2, and Ripley 2 can't let Ripley 1 die. And Sarah Connor is protecting her more nascent self also. So who wins in a winner takes all blood feud? Now, I'll also clarify that if the younger version of themselves die, that's it. They're dead. Match
Okay.
done.
Okay.
But the more experienced versions of themselves could sacrifice themselves to save the younger one, and they could still get the win.
Got it.
I'll go first. It's easy. Sarah Connor.
100% co-sign. Sarah Connor. Go ahead, Rich. Explain why, and I'm going to back you up because you're 100%
Sarah,
right.
after her experience, she became a full-on hardcore prepper.
Yep.
She trained. She has equipment stashed everywhere.
Facts.
She 100% is winning.
She would
Whereas
roll up
Ripley,
with anyone
listen,
who would teach her something.
exactly. And listen, I will give it to my strong, independent women like Ripley. She was able to overcome, but she was not capable of, or she was not prepared for doing these things. She actually got prepared during all of this stuff. Like she happened to like survive by the skin of her teeth, in my opinion. But she was strong enough to do the things that she did. But she's not as prepared as Sarah Connor. She's just not. She's just not. Full stop.
Listen, I'm sorry. Maybe it wasn't a great debate because I also Sarah Connor 100% away, and I assumed I had made the assumption, ladies and gentlemen. That's my fault. That Rich is a huge alien head and may have backed up Ripley, in which case we'd have some kind of debate here. But it seems like we have a unanimous shit kicking of Ripley from Sarah Connor. And if we turn to the chat,
I mean, as
the
much as I am
chat,
an Alien fan, I'm also a Terminator fan. I'm sorry.
I mean, Sarah Connor institutionalized. She's been she's been
Right?
through such hardships that she's not giving up.
No, she's not.
And she saw her do the pull ups. Like,
You saw it?
come on, man,
Listen.
man.
Now I will say this. Connie Alaska says Sarah Connor wins. Corey Pearson says Sarah Connor would kill Ripley over and over again, just going back in time to do it again. And Pop Johnson says Sarah. Connie Alaska is laughing. So the only thing I say that Ripley has on Sarah Connor is Sarah Connor, younger version of herself, is pretty worthless in the film.
But
Like,
she still
true.
survived. She still survived a murderous robot.
Well, I mean, she survived because of she had a protector with her. So let's be honest.
She'd still have herself as a protector. That's true. But that younger Sarah Connor is a big liability in a battle like this.
But she's a survivor. Yeah. She can run. She can hide. She's a survivor.
But I feel like old Sarah Connor would be like, listen, I know myself back then. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna put you in a place where you're not gonna get hurt, and I'm gonna pull out all these guns, these rocket launchers, my booby traps. We're gonna go to a safe house. We're gonna be good out here.
Yeah, you're right. Now, ETC is wondering if we had chosen Ripley from Alien Resurrection as the prime Ripley, would that have changed the outcome?
No.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, because she was a bit of a beast. I mean, she was a beast. She had pretty much almost all of the attributes of an alien, but in human form. So she probably would, because she was strong. She was strong. She had acidic blood. She might have had maybe depending on what her combat skills was, because again, Sarah Connor got a gang of weapons. Like she's shooting everything.
So that might have been a better debate.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But you still give it to Sarah.
I still give it to Sarah. Yes.
So it wouldn't have been that much better of a debate.
Nah, I feel like Sarah would have blown her up, like 100%.
All right, well, that was the debate, ladies and gentlemen, and it's good that we kept it short because we're talking about two shows this week. So our main, we'll get caught up in the chat here. ETC suggested that. Connie Alaska says she barely survives. Still, Sarah wins. Corey says that's why Sarah won. Ripley won. Would leave the situation, let the big and go to Big Boy Burger. Big Boy Burger is pretty good. And she had a kid too.
Where's Big Boy Burger?
Is that a Cali thing?
Is that?
What am I thinking of? Am I not thinking of Big Boy Burger?
Yes, Pop Johnson. She did have a kid. Well, we're talking about
That
Ripley,
just makes
right?
her stronger.
Yeah, she had a kid, yo. And the crazy part is she left her kid to go do to do a job, and then because of aliens, between Alien and Alien, actually between Alien 1 and Alien 2, it was like a whole like 50 some odd years. Her kid was like dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty sad stuff.
Cryo sleep's a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the reason why we're here. It's time for the main event.
I don't think I have anything for the main event, but I'll give you this.
Time for the main event. So this week, as I said, we're talking about no In-N-Out burgers, not Better Burger, etc. In-N-Out, not Better Burger. It's all right though. I'm not denouncing it, and I'm not trying to create a storm on the internet here by denouncing it. But it's not the superior burger. In fact, I would say Shake Shack probably has the superior burger as far as like
Shack
seasoning.
is so overrated. Whataburger all day, twice on Sunday, baby.
You're not wrong about that. All right.
Okay.
Chris from Texas. And you can get that root beer, you can get that Dr. Pepper float.
Yes, you can.
Dr.
In
Pepper
Texas,
float.
you get all kinds of things. Yeah.
All kinds
All
of things.
All right. Let me focus here. So today we're talking about Alien Romulus, and then we're going to talk about Watchmen Chapter 1. Now,
Yes.
Chris is going to probably leave for a minute because he doesn't want us to ruin it. He
Look,
didn't get a chance to see it.
You guys hyped up this movie. So I'm not a big Alien fan, but I don't want to give any spoilers, but you guys had a lot of good things to say. I'm like, damn, I don't want to ruin this movie for myself. So
Yeah.
I will gracefully bow out. I will leave my thing on, and then I'm gonna go play with some adult Legos. And when you guys are ready, text me in the group chat, and I'll walk back.
Wow.
All right. These are gonna, because we're talking about two, we're not gonna go into super depth on them, and we don't tend to go into super depth on anything, if you guys have noticed at this point. But we're gonna spoil it with our opinions. We'll probably spoil the movie too. So, do you want to do spoiler free?
Yeah, let's do spoiler free.
All right. So, spoiler free thoughts. Peace out, Chris. Peace out. All right, spoiler free. I honestly, I think it might be the best Alien movie that's come out.
Yeah, I mean they took elements from, you know what? Yes, I will agree with that. Spoiler free. But they took elements from the other movies, added together, and I feel like they took the best of all the movies, mushed it together, and boom, here it is.
Yeah.
They,
all right, let's
they
spoil
pooped
it.
out gold. All right.
Let's spoil it. So,
Let's do it.
We don't have to go in chronological order, but I'll give kind of the basic backstory. We're set on a mining colony where people are kind of indentured servants to the Wayland Corporation. I think it's the Wayland Corporation they're indentured
Wayland
to.
Yutani, yes.
Yutani, right? And we're following our lead protagonist lady, who is supposed to be up for release now. She's done her allotted workload, and she goes to get her release form so she can leave this planet. She's been a freaking indentured servant on for like 17, 18 years, whatever it's been.
Right.
And
the mind you throw it out there, she was a kid when she was here, and her parents passed, and she had to take on the workload of her parents and finish it up.
And so, yeah, she inherited their debt essentially. And so she goes in to get her release forms, and the lady behind the counter tells her, the laws just changed, and you still have another 10 to 12 years you have to give us in service before you can be released.
Yeah.
And you see her whole life just drops out of her face. 10 to 20 to 10 to 12 more years of working in these mines where people are coming up with all kinds of diseases that are killing them, respiratory health. You
Yep.
know, you see them walking into these mines like birds in cages, and you know it's a no. There's no. This is it. That's her life. So they just basically sentence her to death slowly, and she gets a call from a friend. Goes to check that out. At that point, we realize that she has a brother. I put that in soft quotes. The brother
Yeah.
is turns out to be an android. The one of the things I love about this film, Rich, is they don't
I don't know why I have an alarm at 8 o'clock. Keep going.
they don't slow play things, right? They
No.
get
Yeah.
to the point, and that's
Hmm.
and like every time the movie looks like it's gonna be like, it gets right to the point. And
Right.
so they did that with her brother, who turns out to be an android, synthetic, sentient kind of synthetic being, which is great because we get that right out of the way, so we understand. His backstory is he's real glitchy because
Right.
her parents had found him basically in a trash heap, and her dad fixed him up to make him
He
kind
was
of
a
work.
he was a decommissioned Andy model, which we find out that Andy models are specific for the mining colonies, which I didn't know about the Alien series. I didn't know the androids had specific roles and what they were made for. But yeah, he's specific for the mining colonies, and he found
Right.
the father found a decommissioned one, brought him back online, and then gave him a prime directive of do whatever's best for Rain.
Rain, right, which is the female lead who we're following. It's basically Rain's story. And so Rain goes to meet up with her some friends who she hasn't seen in a while, and they basically say, "Hey, listen, we want you to get involved." I'll cut the long story short. They basically say, "We want you to get involved. We need Andy because he's Wayland Tech. There's a ship that's crashed up there. We want to go up there, grab their cryo modules so we can sleep in them, right?
Right. Yep.
And make the jump to the long distance voyage across space. Going to take like 9 years or something to get to this world, which is supposed to be kind of like a utopia for us instead of this mining colony.
Right.
um Totally illegal, totally unethical, totally unsafe, but eventually Rain says okay. Now we learn later in the film that part of her hang up is you can't take synthetics to this planet. There are no
Right.
robots or androids. So
Which
for her to
she's been keeping from Andy. She kind of told Andy about this, but the reason why she wasn't doing it is because they don't allow synthetics there, and she was keeping that bit of news from him.
right, because Andy is essentially her brother. They grew up together, and he's been looking out for her as much as she's looking out for him because he's again kind of glitchy. But she eventually agrees to go because she got to get off this planet because she basically got a death sentence here.
Yeah, and you
So
also see her throughout, kind of like a little bit in before they get on the ship. You see her kind of like dealing with the idea of that she's going to have to abandon her brother, because there was a one scene where she was in the bathroom, kind of just crying,
yep.
and I was like, all right, that makes sense. So she's like dealing with that whole I'm going to have to leave him at some point.
Well, the other thing is, Andy is her family. Her parents have been gone.
Right.
It's been her and Andy. And Andy's primary objective is do what's best for Rain. And so
Yep.
there's no way that doesn't. I mean, uh, we all have objects in our life now that are completely inanimate that we've probably endowed with some kind of personality or trait that we talk to or engage with, whether that's
Yeah.
Alexa or Echo or whatever your device is that you tell to play music, or we're slowly integrating tech into our life more and more. So the idea
Yeah.
that a person can have a real relationship with a robot character who's acting like a person in the first place and shows them love and affection is not a big leap, right?
Yeah. I mean, people go get attachments to their plants. You know, they sit there and water and take care of their plants and talk to them and sing to them and everything like that. And you know, some people get emotional when a plant tends to die. You know?
Yeah. So she is definitely, it's not an easy choice for her to leave her brother.
Right.
So they go up there and they see that it's not just a ship that's
No,
crashing; it's a whole uh, base
yeah,
thing.
like a space station.
It's a space station, exactly right. And they have about 48 hours before the space station crashes into the rings around the planet. It's kind of like a Saturn type planet, and it's got rings around it. And this station is slowly drifting towards the rings where it's going to get demolished. But they're like, 48 hours is plenty of time. We're going to be in and out in 30 minutes.
Right.
And honestly, they get in the ship, they start just going to town. Three of the people go in. They take Andy because he can interface with the Wayland computers.
Right.
They take the ship captain, and they take kind of like the wild card character. He's kind of a jerk guy, but we
Yeah.
understand why. Like his parents were recently killed. He doesn't like androids because the android sacrificed his parents to save 12 other colony during some sort of collapse in a mine.
Right.
So he's kind of jaded against these robot androids anyway. So he's being a dick to Andy.
Yeah.
So they get in there and they kind of make light work of finding the modules, um, the sleeper pods, and they deject the sleeper pods out into the atmosphere where the other ship goes, picks them up. But there's a problem with the pods. There's not enough cryo fuel to keep them in hibernated
Hyper sleep. Let's say
hypersleep,
cryo sleep. It's
cryo
like
sleep,
cryo sleep.
right? There's not enough energy to keep them asleep for more than 3 years, and the trip's going to take about 9. So they
Right.
need to go get more of those fuel pods. Now, luckily, the guy's got a device. Oh, and then there's one other person who goes. Does the lady with the shaved head go, or she goes
No,
in the second round?
she's the pilot. She stays on the ship, and you see
She
why.
stays.
First of
Okay.
all, she just this is one of the things that I liked about this. They showed everyone's skill, and they didn't have to demean the other person's skill. So when as y'all know, I have a thing where they have to show like a strong woman, but then in order for her to be strong, like the men around her have to be weak. Everyone had their place, and they didn't have to demean each other to be good at what they're doing, right? So you saw that she was a good pilot for whatever for whatever reason, whether she was good in the colony or she was just good at what it was. But you just saw her piloting skills, like especially when it came to grabbing the cryo tubes and
Yeah.
putting it into the back of the ship because that was the tubes were moving. She had to match the speed and then slowly raise herself up. It was just it was technical. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know what? That's what I liked about this. Like she didn't have to sit there and demean like the cousin, the wild card Bjorn to show that actually they look like they were kind of like together or something, or maybe they just had like strong
Well, they
friendship.
definitely they definitely had some moments together.
Yeah, so this is the part that I loved about this movie. It was just everyone had their place and no one had to belittle the other person except for Bjorn with Andy, but we already know the reason why that was.
Totally
And
justified.
yeah,
Well, that's another thing. That's why, I had said in the group chat we have together that this is a near perfect film, and it is by certain standards. I'm not saying it's the best film ever made,
right.
but what I mean by that is it has characters that behave logically. None of them double back on what it is they identify with or what they're going after or why.
Mhm.
Uh, so they all have plausible deniability for their actions all throughout the film. The character relationships between them are
Right.
crystal clear without spoon feeding information to us. The stakes are through the roof, but it doesn't feel played at or forced. Like this is such a solid film from beginning to end, and it continues to dial up the stakes as the film goes on. It
Right.
has tons of homages to its predecessor films
Yeah.
without feeling like cheap tropes or Easter eggs, and yet it's all there. Like this movie is so seamless to watch. Um, so So they need more fuel. So the guy's got his little wand. He's going out to find it. He finds that actually there's another room down that way. We can go get the cryo fuel for the chambers and we'll be fine. So they go on down the ship to go get the cryo fuel. Now here's the film gets interesting. The guy starts, they have to go into a room and it's questionable as to how they got into it in the first place because they have trouble getting out of it because Andy's access, he doesn't have access for this room, but he has access to the whole ship.
Right.
Right.
It was a clearance. So his clearance has access to the I guess the general parts of the ship, enter, out, and so on and so forth. But this room specifically, he was able to get in, but you know what? No, what happened? He was able to get into it, but once it hit a lockdown point, he
He
couldn't
couldn't
get
get
out.
out.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. ETC dropping a super chat on us.
Hey.
ETC, thanks so much.
I should probably have that closer, shouldn't I?
Should have
Here
had
we
that
go.
closer. What'd you guys think of the alien popcorn bucket that looked like finisher? Honestly, I did not see the alien popcorn bucket.
I've been seeing them online and on Facebook Marketplace specifically, and they had those things up for sale for like a couple of weeks.
What are they?
And
All right,
it looks like the alien head, pretty much. Actually, it's the alien. It's the shape of an alien head.
Oh, so it looks like a giant phallic.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
All right, well, let me look it up real quick.
Yeah. So anyway, while he's looking that up,
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah.
Dude, that's sick.
And depending on where you go, you can also get the they also had a popcorn bucket that looked like the the tubes.
I see what he's saying. Well,
I think Regal had popcorn bucket that looked like the cryo tubes
where do you
that
get
the face huggers are in.
Where do you get the oh yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Where does the popcorn come out of this thing?
It's like a little hatch on the top, like kind of somewhere in the front-ish area.
This don't look appropriate. It don't look appropriate though.
It's a xenomorph head, man.
Look, he's not wrong. Listen, ETC. What do I think of that? I think that's like Chris's. I think it's like Chris's Lego toys. It's 18 plus.
Yeah.
So they go in to get the cryo tubes, and he has to release one, and when he does, the whole room goes on a shutdown because what it's actually doing is it's changing the temperature in this particular room.
Right.
Now, what we find out, the audience knows because we've seen the other movies. This room is storing, for some weird reason, a bunch of face huggers in like incubation chambers.
Yeah.
And so when the room reaches a certain temperature, the face huggers come to life and they start dropping out of these like little incubation pods, which is disturbing to say the least. If they're in the water, they're in the rooms, and then they start attacking them. When the room goes into lockdown, the pilot and Rain enter the space station to try to find a way to get them out. Rain comes up with the idea that even though Andy might not have clearance, if she takes the chip out of one of these other cybernetic robots and puts it in Andy, he'll get that space officer robot's clearance, and he'll be able to open the door. Right. So that's what she does. She puts this other chip in Andy, and this is what happens, man. I kind of knew it was going to happen on page 1 when we first got introduced to Andy, but to see it play out was actually really gratifying. Andy instantly transforms into a functioning robot because his chip was kind of damaged the whole time. And so now he speaks clearly. His voice is clear, crisp. He's super intelligent now.
All the glitches he had were being repaired.
Program.
So yeah.
Right. He's faster. He's able to move. He's more agile. He's got super reflexes. And this actor just killed it. I mean,
Yeah,
the guy who plays Andy crushes it, and he eats that meal and he leaves no crumbs on the table, man. He just ate the whole performance up. He was so good. This guy was so good. He made the movie for me. It's like the other characters were great, but this guy had the role written to steal the show, and he totally just steals the show with it, right?
yeah,
Um, let's check out some of these chats so they don't get too far away from us. Disinternal in the house. Ripley 8 is basically a perfect hybrid of a xenomorph and a human. That's why Wayland wanted to achieve. That's what they wanted to achieve in the Romulus, right?
right, yeah.
And we see that play out later in the film. And I mean, spoilers: the ending of this film just gets disturbing, to say the least. It's interesting how many connections, resurrection in both the prequel and in this. And that's kind of what we're talking about. Like, this movie did a really good job of paying homage and being original. ETC says that to complete this service, you have to admit to the original film because we find out that the alien that we thought
Right.
Ripley killed actually lived. Well, I don't know that that's a complete disservice because they also, I mean, they really tie in the original film. And to me, it's kind of like Superman throws Doomsday into space. And we think that Doomsday is dead, but he's not dead, man. This is a perfect being that regenerates, same as the queen that Ripley blows into space is kind of regenerates. But after they opened that thing that they found the alien in, the alien wasn't still alive, was it?
It was no, it was still. I believe they said it was still alive, and it came back, or like it attacked them. So
But it was like dead and strung up on the ceiling
yeah,
rafters.
like so they somehow killed it, and that's the last state of it was on the
But
ceiling.
they
So
had
yeah, that was kind of my. I was like one of my concerns, like, 'cause if you saw the original, then you saw that didn't just like eject him out of space. It went into one of the boosters, and she launched the booster, and for all we know, cooked it. It was done, right?
right,
But at the same time, this is like, one of those perfect organisms. So maybe it just cooked it enough where it just incapacitated it. And at this point, they could kind of like play with it how they want to. So I didn't. It was a bit of a disservice, but I mean, not too much because the xenomorphs. If you follow all of it, the games and the comics and so on and so forth, the xenomorphs are all over the place. So
right.
you know, they've been fighting the xenomorphs for a while actually. So
Well, right. And if you go to Prometheus, you get a whole nother storyline kind of playing out there. This Inferno says this is a universe where the main heroes never actually succeeds, not something new. Kind of true. It was interesting but weird seeing Rook as
yeah,
Ash, right? Or rather, Ash as this Rook character. But that goes back to the idea that these robot cybernetic cyborg guys are just they're pumped out on an assembly line.
right. And
So
then
you have these different
also,
models that do different things.
if you go back to Alien One, they didn't know he was a synthetic. If I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I watched it, but I believe they just called him Ash, but he was a Rook model. So
Right.
they didn't use his name in this one. They just used the model number of him or
Well,
the model make.
it was a big surprise for the audience when he turned out to be
Right, right.
not human.
So that's also the change with this. So I mean, I didn't mind that. It was weird because sometimes when he was talking, the CG on the face was a little off, and I was like,
It was he looked kind of like he did
yeah,
some spots. So let me try to fast track this breakdown so we can get back to having Chris on the show. Now there's a lot, but we'll go kind of quickly through it. So long story short, the face huggers are loose. Andy is able to interface with the computer because he's given a higher status at this point.
right,
Uh, and then Andy goes back and he picks up that other robot that they found and he plugs him into the ship. Right, this is Rook,
right,
and And he basically asks Rook what's going on, what's the backstory here, what happened, and Rook fills him in. This is where the audience gets up to speed with why the space station is smashed out of orbit and about to crash. The other thing that happens is at this point in the show, there's a face hugger has wrapped itself around the pilot of the ship. And
Yes.
so
And
she,
I just want to say real quick, I'm sorry. I just want to say the graphic nature of the face hugger, just
dude,
having to see that whole thing now, I'm like, yo, it is great. I'm like, that is fantastic. Because usually you just see the face hugger wrap around and that's
yeah,
it. But now you actually see the little, I forgot the name of it, but going down the throat to implant the embryo or the egg into the body. Oh man, it's great. It's great stuff. It's great stuff. I
yeah,
love it.
it's not pleasant to see, but you're like, oh, that, yeah, it's implanting all the way down there, so it's a long tube.
Yeah.
Uh, Dis says he really liked Rain and Andy. Man, their dynamic quality in this just stole the movie. I hope the sequel has them both in it and continues their story. And I can't imagine it wouldn't, because it's such a big problem that he's a robot going to this Earth in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's just it's great juicy conflict and drama that's already built in the story before the sequel to this even happens. So Rook basically tells them what's happening with the face hugger and what it's doing,
Right.
and he also says to Andy, uh, "You should kill this person before this thing becomes a liability to everybody else. Your chances are already so low of survival. You need to remove, that humanity element in order to get out of this thing alive."
Right.
We later also learned that Rook uploads Andy with a new primary objective, or
Mhm.
directive rather. His original directive: do what's best for Rain. His new directive that he's given is finish the mission, which
Right.
is the
Do
Wayland,
what's best for the company.
do what's best for the company, right? Which
You're a company
is what
robot.
is what all the robots in the rest of the series do. They do what's best for the company.
Right.
And so we see how that plays out, and Andy starts getting, oh, and the other thing, Andy has new information. He doesn't lose his old information though, and some old information he got was the guy who's kind of was a dick to him basically tells him, this planet we're going to, they don't allow synthetics.
Right.
And Rain didn't tell you. She didn't tell you? Thought you knew, man. Yeah, she can't take you there. And so Andy's instantly feeling a little betrayed by his sister, right? Like
Yeah.
she was going to leave me here by myself. And so now that we see Andy 2.0, who's smarter, sharper, more sophisticated, he's also a little like, you were going to leave me. And so even he's justified for having some feelings and reacting a little differently, right?
Yeah.
And that, coupled with the idea that his new directive is do what's best for the company, he's having a bit of a existential crisis with how to move forward. Because he still cares about Rain, but she was going to leave him, and now I got to do what's best for the company. It's not like I get to
Yeah.
choose. And so the way they come up with an idea to get the face hugger off the pilot is they use a little bit of the cryo freeze thing on it to see if it can release the tail so it stops choking her, and then they'll rip it off her face. And so
Right.
they do that and it works. They rip it off. They like drop the face hugger down a hole, and they start making a run to the ship. But Rook says to Andy, you got to get rid of her, man. There is a 70% chance that she's already impregnated with this thing. And I'm telling you right now, you don't want to deal with this thing. Get rid of her. Do what's
Yeah.
best for everyone and get rid of her. Which causes her and her kind of boyfriend to
Yeah.
panic.
Born. So Navarro, which is the pilot, and Bjorn, which is the kind of dick guy. They
Right.
go. They go as soon as she gains consciousness. They go straight to the ship.
They go rogue and they lock all the doors behind them.
Right. And
So the leader of the team and Rain and Andy are stuck on the space station while they get in the ship and they leave of them.
Right, and then you see Andy 2.0. You see the improvements that came to him for a second time. Because first time you saw when he caught the face hugger and helped him get out. Second time, once he talked to Rook, he just hoofed it like full on track and field style. Cut the corner, grabbed the door, opened it up. Was unable to get the other door open, but you just saw how fast he was,
Right.
and how strong he was. So these two, they get into the ship, lock it up, and what I've noticed in this is how quickly the gestation period was compared to the other
The
aliens. Because
other
usually,
films,
yeah, usually it took like hours. This one it
or
took like a
even
few minutes.
like
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
Well,
because
with
even part one, part of Alien, it took days for the facehugger to come off, and then they were
this,
chilling, having a
this
good
was
time.
this was kind of an example where I thought the film did itself it actually helped itself fast track through the process, right?
Right,
Because if it had taken days or hours for the incubation process in the first place, then I mean the film just would have been so much slower. And so basically what happens is we see the incubation phase of the face hugger to the thing to ripping out of its chest happens within minutes.
right,
And the thing that rips out of its chest, losing its skin and turning into a full grown xenomorph happens within minutes.
yeah,
And so what's actually nice about that is the film is able to progress faster without feeling like we're rushing plot or anything, right? It doesn't feel like we're I didn't feel like we're losing anything because we also know how this process works having seen the other movies, and if you haven't seen the other movies then you just go with it.
Well, we got a new step to it because before you kind of get ideas of how it happened. Like you just see the shedding, the molting of the skins, right, and it gets
Right.
into his new body. This one we got the whole little cocoon chrysalis thing in the wall. We never
Right.
got that in any other movies, and that was also pretty suggestive looking as well. But anyway,
Well,
yeah.
kind of.
But Bjorn saw this chrysalis on the wall and pretty much had one of those shock torches, hooked it up to the ship's power, and thought he was going to shock it to death, which ends up backtracking on him because he ends up
Horribly.
shorting out the stick, falling down. The thing ends up bleeding some acid, and he falls right underneath it, and naturally it starts bleeding all over him, and of course he's kaputs at that point.
Right. um yeah, and so the people who are on the ship at that point are Bjorn, the pilot, and the other
And
girl.
Kay, sister, Kay, who is Tyler, the love interest for Rain, is sister. So yeah,
Right. And she's pregnant.
right. She's pregnant. She don't know by who. Some d bag on the planet. But yeah,
So she says.
yeah,
So she says. And then, so what happens, long story short, is the xenomorph is fully grown in the ship while the other rest of the crew is stuck on the space station. And as the xenomorph is just wreaking havoc on the ship starts smashing into the space station, throwing it further out of orbit until it crashes into the one of the space station bays.
right. That's
And then it
because
seals off.
when Navarro, as the chest burster was coming out, she kicked the joystick or the
Right.
control stick, and yes, it hit a fuel pod or a fuel reserve, which dumped out fuel, knocked it off a
Right.
trajectory, and accelerated the impact to the ring. And
Yeah.
also by just showing how great she is of a pilot, even when she's dying, she was able to steer this thing. Joking, but anyway, she was able to steer this thing into one of the pods. I'm sorry, the cargo
Hangers.
bays
Yeah.
on the other side of the ship. So the ship's separated by two parts, Romulus and Remus. They're on the Romulus side. They need to get to the Remus side, right? Or is it the other way around? Either way, they got to get down to the other side, the other side of the space station, because that's where the ship is. And yeah, so yeah, that's where we're at. They're stuck in there. The alien is now out and about. The sister gets out. She ends up escaping. They make their way to the Remus side or the other side of the space station to the hangar, without not without any complications, because now they had to walk through a room that was full of the face huggers
dude.
and just everywhere. So they came up with the by talking to Rook, they was like it responds to body temperature. So you have to they raised the room up to 98 degrees. It's like, make sure you don't sweat, no goosebumps, otherwise they'll react to you, because that means your body's trying to cool down, and they'll react to that and they'll come after you. So they're making their way, and the brother Tyler hears the sister because she wakes up, and sister's talking. Now he decides he wants to take a phone call. I mean, listen, brother,
Oh man.
what are we doing?
Yeah,
When
you're in
you're
the middle of the movie. You don't take a phone call.
exactly. So they take the phone call. He's talking to the sister. Sister's panicking because the alien's after her. And when that happens, now he's hearing everything go down. The sister screaming. He gets goosebumps. He's sweating.
And the face huggers start waking up.
Right. They start reacting to him, because they also react to sound. So now they're hearing him. They're already getting the reaction from hearing him talking. And as soon as his body temperature changes,
and then Andy's got that line, man. He just drops it. That one word. I'm gonna stop still the whole show with it.
Run.
Run.
And that's when they just book it. They book it and they make it to the other side of the.
Oh wait, they don't just make. Yo, man, tell him what Andy does.
What's that going to do?
Andy makes it to the other side first, as Rain is in, and then he closes the door.
No, he was Listen, he was calculated with it.
Yo,
he was like,
yes, he was.
If he doesn't close it at this point in time, they will get there. Like, if he kept it open any longer than that, those things will get there. Those things were faster. The only reason that they were making it because they were dodging.
The way it goes down, the guy slides right in as the door shuts right behind him, and the face huggers all smash up against it. And Rain is like, you close the door, and Andy's like, and I calculated it perfectly.
Exactly.
You know? But
Andy's now a machine.
Cold, man. It's stone cold.
He's a machine now. So he's like, hey, survival is what we're going after. Anything less than that, you're just in my way at this point. And we see more of that when they get to the hangar door, and the sister's right there saying, let me in, let me in. And then Andy sees
kind of saying, let me out, let me out.
Or let me out, let me out, right? And they're all like, Andy, open the door, open the door. Andy's like, no, because then even though they saw the monster go away, he saw the monster come back. He saw the alien come back and was just kind of just sitting there watching. He was like, he's waiting for us to open the door. And then the xenomorph came and grabbed her up and then took her away to do whatever they were going to do with her, because he already took the other two bodies, which I'm assuming he was just going to take them to feed because they were already dead. But yeah, that was. I mean, he was right. He was like, that thing is quick. Like he knew off rip, just off the information he got from the new chip. He's like, that thing is fast. But if I open his door, by the time she gets in here, it's going to be in here too.
Oh, it's game over. Game over. So he doesn't open the door, and the guy this is his sister, right?
Right.
It's the guy's sister. So the alien knifes the sister through the stomach, right? Or it looks like it, and drags her off. And it's disturbing. It's sad. It hurts.
Well, I think it was like through the shoulder, right?
It's like up in there, right?
Yeah.
Knifes her up in the top and drags her off. Now we think she's dead. She ends up not being dead. She's like, putting like the spaghetti spider cocoon thing to eat off of or feed off of or incubate something else later. But we don't know that at that moment. The brother certainly doesn't know that. All he knows is that Andy didn't open the door.
Right.
And Rain is looking at Andy like, I don't even know you anymore. And Andy's looking at her like, oh, this is actually a good moment, because she asked Andy in this moment, what is your primary objective? And Andy says, I have a new primary objective. It's do what's best for the company. And this is, again, a moment where the movie really does smart, man. It fast tracks all this stuff by getting to the point. It pushes the timeline forward by knocking the space station off trajectory and closer to the impact zone, where you went from 48 hours till impact. Now the thing's going to crash in 40 minutes.
Right.
So we know that, okay, there's a big ticking for a movie that was 2 hours, two plus hours. This thing just went by so quick.
Fast. Yeah, it went fast.
I mean, effortless watch. You're not sitting and waiting for anything to happen, and it also didn't feel rushed.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there was one moment I had to go and use the bathroom, which we'll get to. So I missed a little bit, just a little bit, not much. At least I don't think much. Anyway,
I guess I'll fill you in on that moment. So now they come up with the idea. Now the problem is the ship they're trying to get to is in this hangar, but the alien was in this hangar, and they're not going through this door. So they decide to go around to get to the ship. Right?
mm, right. Well, not the well. They weren't letting him in. They weren't letting him in the door because now Rook had a new directive for him to go get the samples from this other lab, and that's what they needed to do now. In order for them to get back to the ship, in order for Rook to let them back in the ship, they need to go get the samples for the company and then bring it back, and then he'll let him in.
Right. So they go get the samples. And on the way to the samples, they discover that the ship is infested
Yeah.
with aliens. It's not just the one alien we saw hatch. There's like we don't know how many. Could be hundreds of full-grown aliens in this ship,
Hmm.
right? Um so they so what happens now? They sneak they
They
get
make
the
they make it to the lab, and they're now seeing they make it to the lab door locked behind them, and they're getting like a brief, not a brief. They're seeing everything that's happening in there. They're seeing the black goo that we saw from Prometheus being extracted from the face huggers. It's
right.
been refined now. They get a video of the rat that got smashed, and then they inject it with the black goo, and it rebuilt them. And then pretty much Rook gives them a whole story about how they're trying to make the perfect organism. He's jump starting the evolution pretty much and making the perfect organism for man, so they can stop, for terraforming and everything like that, so they can stop all the deaths from diseases and accidents and stuff like that. So because man was not made. He come to realization men were not made to leave planet Earth. They were not made for terraforming, because terraforming is a rough
Space travel.
process.
So they're
And
not
space
made for
travel.
space.
So he's
That's
trying to they were trying to construct the perfect organism within man through refining the black goo. So that's pretty much where
right.
we're at with that. So they found a cryogenic capsule, cryogenic container with some of the capsules in the ejectors.
Yeah, like
And now
60.
that they got that, and they have to find a way back to the ship, but they can't go back the way they came because the alien that's chasing them is right out the door.
And so they come to a corridor, and it's fully infested with what is these aliens, and they go, let's go back the other way. But then they hear the kind of muffled scream of the guy's sister,
Right.
and
Yes.
he just books it down this potentially alien infested corridor while Andy and Rain are going, "Yo, what are you doing, man?" And he's already gone. So they have to follow after him. He finds his sister. He's pulling her off the wall. She's bleeding to death, half dead, and and I forget whether it's Andy or Rook, but one of them goes, "We could inject her with this
No.
vial that could save her life."
Right.
And Rain goes, "No, we're not doing that. We don't know what this stuff is. If your primary objective says you need to get it so you can open the door to get us on the ship, fine, you have it. But we don't know what it is, and we're not going to put it in her. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get her back to the ship as quickly as possible, put her in the cryo sleep thing, and by the time we land on on the new planet, they will have the technology and capability of saving her, and we won't have to use this." So they go, "Okay, cool, bet, let's do that." However, now they're in the middle of Alien Ground Zero,
Mhm.
and they have to weapon up. Like Andy's like, "Let's grab some weapons." They grab weapons. These weapons are auto lock self firing things. However, he goes, "You can't shoot. You can't shoot the thing." And they go, "Why not? Why'd you give us weapons if we can't use them?" And he goes, "If you shoot, you're going to start spilling acid blood all over the ship. It's going to leak through the hull. It's going to compromise the integrity of the ship, and we're going to all be pulled into the vacuum of space." What I'm
Yeah.
hoping,
I had a slight problem with that because I'm like, that's a secure facility, and the doorway off of that is in the least secure part of the building. Like I would imagine, that room would be like kind of like in the center of everything. But I was like, all right, whatever, let's go with it.
sure.
Mm.
Well, it raised the stakes again.
Yeah.
right? He gave us plausibility, deniability, so we're going with the stakes. So they go, what I'm hoping will happen is that these creatures are smart enough, they see the threat of the weapon, and it buys us time.
Right.
And they're like, "You're just trying to buy us more time?" He goes, "That's it. That's what the weapons are for, to try to buy us posture and time."
Right.
They go, okay, cool. So they go out. It works. They buy a little bit of time, but the dude is killed, right?
Yes, he gets snatched up. And they end up getting to the elevator. They get the sister on the elevator, and have her going up. And she pretty much tells her get to the ship.
Well,
Um,
the other thing that happens is Rook is kind of damaged in the escape to the elevator. They're trying to get to an elevator that's going to lead to the ship. Uh, Andy is damaged in the scuffle with the aliens, and he's kind of on the floor glitching out. The aliens aren't interested in him because he's not
right.
human, and they end up killing the older brother guy. Rain is on the elevator with the sister and says, "Listen, I've got to go back." She's going to go back. She's going to get her brother Andy, who's glitching out on the floor,
Right.
as the hero does. She goes, "I got to go back. I will find my way to the ship. If I don't, get yourself in the pod and put the ship on autopilot. You'll be fine." So she gives the sister character, who has a name, the little
K.
vial.
K.
K. That's right, K. She gives K the black goo vials that they injected with the rats, and she gets out of the elevator to go get Andy. K gets she's in the elevator and she is in tremendous pain, and she decides to inject
Bleeding out.
herself with a vial.
Mm-hmm.
So she does. She injects herself with a vial and manages to get to the ship. Now, we know that one thing that the video of the rat rebuilding itself, one thing that wasn't on that video was what happened to the rat after. And what happened
Right.
to the rat after is it turned into like this giant deformed looking monster creature.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh boy, this ain't gonna end well.
Not gonna
Plus,
end well. I'll be
plus
honest with you. It didn't end the way I thought it was going to end, but I was like,
it,
man.
it did not end the way I thought it was gonna end either. Spoiler, Kay was also pregnant, which changes the way the vial worked on her, I think.
Yeah.
And so Rain goes back down and she gets Andy. Now Andy's not having it. He doesn't want to lose that chip. And
Right.
she basically says, "You gotta let me take the chip out, Andy. It's gonna allow I can swap the chip, I can repair you, it's gonna get you out of here, it's gonna get me out of here, it's gonna save your life, it's gonna change your primary directive." But so Andy eventually lets her take the chip out of his neck. She swaps out the card, puts it back in. We got normal glitchy Andy from the beginning of the film, who's a
Mm-hmm.
little, he's not heroic, he's not dynamic, he's a good person though. And her and Andy are now trying to go up the elevator shaft and get out of there. The problem is they have to traverse through all the xenomorphs, right? So the
This is why I went to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom at this point, and then when I came back, they lost gravity. They were going through the gravity recycling thing again, and there was acid everywhere. So
okay.
fill that in.
So here's what happens. She puts the chip back in Andy,
Mm.
and as she's looking around, they're trying to make their way. They're trying to make their way back to the elevator because she had to go through that corridor to get back to Andy. The thing is like swarming with all these fully grown xenomorphs now, and
Okay.
she's like, "Yeesh!" So she turns off the gravity to try to give them an
Okay.
edge. She shuts down the gravity, and the xenomorphs are kind of like floating, but they're grabbing stuff and they're slingshotting themselves towards her. And she takes to just blasting them because what she
Okay.
figured was if there's no gravity, the acid blood can't eat through the bottom of the ship. It'll just float.
All right.
And so she takes to blasting all of them. I mean, all of them.
I'm assuming
Face huggers
we
2.
saw the alien, the autopilot, or not the auto aim in action
Auto
with that.
aim on the gun, and the auto aim
Okay.
on the gun works extremely well.
All right.
And she blasts them all, and there's nothing but a giant swirling puddles here and there of
Yeah.
acid blood. And this is the only part of the movie where it's like she had got to zero gravity her way around acid blood pools.
Yeah.
And she does pretty good. She gets to a point where she gets to a point where she just cannot get away from the acid blood, but she got a couple rounds left in the gun and she managed to shoot herself
Yeah.
away from the acid blood.
Yeah. I saw all that. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, okay.
so they get back to the elevator shaft and they slingshot themselves up the elevator shaft, right?
Right.
But then the gravity is going to kick itself back on. It's going to recycle, and it does. Andy is way near the top because Rain had something that happened at the bottom that kept her from being able. She had an altercation with another one of the aliens,
Right. They grabbed
but
her
she's a
and right.
right. But she
They
managed
grabbed
to
her. She
blast.
shot through it, and you see the gate that they closed, being eaten away. So she
Right,
didn't get a start like Andy did.
so she's a little behind Andy, but she slingshots herself up. Andy managed to grab a ladder way high up the thing, but Rain doesn't manage to grab a ladder. She's almost there, almost got Andy, but then the gravity turns on and she's falling. And we're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Well,
what?
hmm.
And we're sitting here going, is Andy going to be able to Spider-Man this thing or what's going to happen?
That's what I
And the
thought. I was like, Andy's gonna drop. He's gonna do the Spider-Man dive and grab her, and then the gravity's gonna cut off right at that point.
Andy is not dynamic like that, ladies and gentlemen. He's just watching.
Yeah.
But someone else was watching too, the original Xenomorph, and that Xenomorph wraps that girl up around the waist and grabs her out of midair and pulls her up straight to him or her. That Xenomorph is taking a good look into her eyes. It's you and me. That's
Yeah.
what it's saying. And it's like sizing her up. It's not looking to tear her apart right now. It's looking to really just kind of it's getting into her psyche and it kind of slowly drifts her towards the other side where there's the ladder and it lets her grab onto the ladder.
Yeah.
And now Andy's got a plan. Oh, because the gravity turns on, the elevator starts falling through the shaft, right? And it goes straight past the Xenomorph and Rain manages to hold on to the ladder, and the Xenomorph just kind of ducks away
Right.
from it.
And with that being said, the other xenomorphs were coming up.
Yeah, now
They
we
were
got a
also
whole
climbing up. So the
right,
elevator clears them all out. Right.
except
And
for
except for the one. So we see we see it come around the corner and it's like, yeah, I'm still here. And
I'm
then
still here.
she turns around and then there's a face hugger right there too. So now she
Yes.
is doubly effed. But
Yeah.
then next thing you know, because Andy's looking down and Rain through the whole traversing of the shaft, she paused. She she lost her gun. Andy saw the gun. It's closer to him. He grabs the gun, or we don't see the grab the gun. We see the space hugger, excuse me, just burst. Right?
Right. Well, it jumps. This
Right. It
facehugger
jumps.
jumps and it is
It gets
exploded
right.
as we see Andy descending the shaft on top of the xenomorph, gun a blazing. Bam, 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 bam. He blows it apart and he looks up at Rain and he says,
I forgot what he said.
"Do you hear what he said?" He goes, "What do you say?" He says something like, "Well, he says the B word about
He gave the line from Alien 2. He's like,
yes,
don't touch her, you bitch.
yes, that's what it was." And we did have a couple throwback lines, right? Like,
Yeah.
Rook throws Ash's line back,
And then even when they started talking about the goo and they started explaining the goo, you got kind of the music from Prometheus.
right, yeah. And so then what happens is they get back on the ship and Rain puts Key, the sister, into the cryo thing to sleep.
Right.
And she starts putting the ship on autopilot and she's talking to Andy, and she's like, Andy, I'm giving you a new directive. Your directive is do what's best for both of us.
Mm.
And so they've come together. They're definitely a family unit. She goes, I don't entirely know what's going to happen when we get to this planet, but we're going to figure it out together, okay? And he's like, I got you, sister. I got your back. And then what happens is Rain is about to get in the sleep pod when Key starts having like a thing.
Right.
She's going into labor, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
That baby is coming out.
the pod aborts the cryo sleep because her vitals are all over the place.
Yeah, and that baby is coming out, and it's coming out with a vengeance, and it comes out in an alien pod,
Right. Yeah.
and it's disturbing. It don't look great, and the pod, uh, Rain grabs up in like a jacket,
Mm.
and it's starting to like drip maybe acid or something, but she can't hold it. She drops the pod, and the alien pod, eats through the jacket, eats through the floor, and falls into like
Is
a
it's like
trash lot.
it's like a container for the minerals that they're
Right.
holding.
And so she goes down into the shaft, and by the time she gets down there, whatever was in the pod, she looks into it, and it's a baby. Like
Right.
she actually sees the baby, like it's a baby face, and then it eats through the floor, and then she runs down to the mineral shaft area where they collect all the debris stuff. And by the time she gets down there, the pod is empty, and she's like, where is this thing? Now we cut back to Key, who looks like she's lactating some kind of like weird
Goo. Looks like black
goo,
goo. Yeah.
black goo, and then
I
we
think that might
see
be the change to her body. Like it changes the fetus and then created the baby and everything, but it made a change to her body to quite possibly be able to nurture the fetus
right, right,
or the
and
baby now.
and then and this is all happening very quick, ladies and gentlemen. It's happening very quick. We go from pod to baby to full grown. What is this thing?
This
And
thing is
this thing
huge.
is one, it's huge, and two, it's disgusting. Uh ETC says we might be a little long winded here. We're gonna wrap this up. This thing is disgusting, though. It is like this long, really disturbing. Go watch the movie. Creature looking
Yeah,
humanoid.
tall. It's like it had to have been like 7-8 feet,
It's like Slender Man with
misshapen.
no clothes.
Yeah, yeah. Like crooked spine, very, very
Well,
weird. And that's actually a person. That's an actual like 7 foot, a 7 foot guy who plays basketball. I'm not sure if he plays professionally, but it's a real guy. And they just put the prosthetics on him and everything like that, and a little bit of CG here and there. But bro, he's a weird looking guy.
well, it's a weird looking creature, and he's moving weird. And he goes to get some. He goes to get mother's milk.
Yeah, yeah. His tongue comes out, and it's another jaw within the tongue, and he just goes to get some of that milk. You know.
Yeah, and he drinks a lot more than the milk. So by the time Rain gets back up, that dude has basically extracted all the goo from Mama, and there ain't nothing left of Mama but a carcass. And now that thing. Oh, well, the interesting thing, there was this really crazy moment when the creature guy baby got back to her.
Mm.
You could tell there was like this.
He identified it like that.
He
This is my
identified,
mom.
knew it
Like,
was mom.
yeah,
He knew it was mom. Yeah, I knew it was his mom, and he was still going to eat her because sometimes the babies eat the moms
yeah.
or the dads, or the moms eat
And
the dads.
and while you were feeding, you saw that the fact that he was still mutating or still forming. They saw the
Right, he
tail
grew a
forming
tail.
out, and the spine was kind of aligning a little bit, and he grew the tail and everything. So yeah. And then
And so then we go on to get into battle mode, right? Where Rain basically has to fight this thing. She ends up dropping it. Long story short, she drops it through she releases the cargo bay, and the thing crashes into the rings of the planet, explodes, and that's kind of where we end things. She gets into the cryopod. Her brother's a little glitched out. She promises, I'll fix you once we reach our destination. They're leaving with the vials in the ship,
yeah,
right? And that's kind of where the movie ends. I thought this movie was great.
I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm gonna be honest with you.
So let's let Chris back on the show, and let's go ahead and rank this thing so we can try to fast track through our next review.
Which I didn't see, so I'm gonna go make a sandwich. No, I'm joking. I should go make a sandwich.
Come back. All right, well, let's rank this thing while we wait for Chris to come back. What do you give this thing?
I'm gonna give it a solid 8. Be honest with you.
I agree. I think this movie's an 8. It's a solid 8. There is nothing wrong with this film.
And you know what? Because like I said, I went in there. I got in there excited, but at the same time, I was like, I know the modern day writing, tropes and everything that they're trying to go through, pushing their agendas and whatnot. So I had to adjust my expectations low, and it blew me away. I was like, yo, none of what I was expecting was in there, and these characters really, they really played their part. They really played their parts. So I was like,
What's keeping you from giving it a higher score?
I don't know. I feel like maybe a little more. They could have added some more. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like 8 is a solid move because it wasn't perfect, right? I wouldn't say it was near perfect because of the little bit with the CG.
Yeah.
Again with the whole alien. With the whole alien being captured at the middle or being salvaged at the beginning, that kind of took away from what happened in the first Alien. Other than that, yeah, I'm gonna say 8. 8 is a good number for me.
I agree. I think this film was an 8. I think this film was an 8. I think if you like the Alien franchise, this film is for you. I think if you haven't seen the Alien franchise, this is just a solid movie that stands
Yeah,
alone.
you can start with
This
this.
film is for you. You can start with this, exactly. All right, man. Good review. Let's go to the Chris.
What up?
Go to the Chris.
Chris, we gave it an 8.
Okay, that's a strong rating.
That's a strong rating. This movie is good, so definitely go watch it. So now we're going to talk about Watchmen Chapter 1, and we're going to try to get through this thing. Watchmen is not new content. It's one of the greatest graphic novels, my opinion, that's ever been written. So it's been out there since the 80s. It was adapted into the live action film by legendary filmmaker Zack Snyder.
Jack's
And
favorite.
And, I got a funny Watchmen story I've told a few times. I'll definitely tell it again. Rich is going to eat some crackers, some cookies. And,
Cookies, Tate's Cookies. Put some respect
Cookies.
on the name.
Thin and crunchy, baby.
And there's the HBO series that has also happened. Then there's some other content. And then recently, within the last few years or so, there was some Watchmen spin-off comics that were
Tales of the Black Freighter. We got that movie. We then now with the Rebirth, the whole purpose behind Rebirth was that it actually brought Watchmen into the DC comic book universe.
That's right. And so Dr. Manhattan and all those characters are just canon into the universe now. So Watchmen Chapter 1 is just the content of the graphic novel. It takes place, if you're familiar with the graphic novel, it takes place from the time it's the beginning of the novel with comedian's death, and it ends. Chapter 1 ends with basically Rorschach getting arrested by the police.
Right.
So that's Chapter 1. I dug this content, Chris. Chris had said, hey, we could talk about Watchmen, said it was really good, and he was not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first since the Apocalypse movie, since they rebooted the DC animated universe. This is the first good movie, really, really, really good movie we've gotten in a long time. I can't remember enjoying a DC movie like this in years.
It kind of made me feel like it was kind of like There was nothing wrong with this. It was a faithful adaptation. The story is already compelling enough.
Super faithful. I
That's
mean,
what I'm
down
saying.
to Tales of the Black Freighter. Super
Down to
faithful.
the details, and the way they worked the Black Freighter into the content just enhanced the content. It didn't take away from it. And it was, what I tell you what was interesting was watching it. I know certain things were, some liberties were taken to get the story out quicker, but character backstories weren't altered in the way like Snyder really kind of altered some of these backstories to get the characters out faster.
Yeah.
Um, and now we haven't seen chapter 2. In chapter 2, we get Rorschach's backstory when he kind of crosses the line. And I'm hoping they don't do what Snyder did and alter that backstory. I don't get the sense that they
I, d-
will.
I don't think they will, based upon how what they I think what they did was I think they looked at it like, look, we've had a lot of struggles with what we've been doing. Let's just take this verbatim out of the comics. Of course, you're gonna make some changes because you're doing an adaptation, but it's they're just doing Watchmen. The formula is so simple. They're just doing Watchmen and they're doing it correctly. I'm digging the animation. I'm digging the way they're incorporating everything. They're incorporating the Hollis Mason stuff. I'm about it. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, I get. That's the other thing I struggle with sometimes watching cartoons that are really taken off the page and then just totally changed.
Yeah,
I'm like, you're taking. I understand live actions change it, which again, I don't understand why they make some changes they make. Like, if content clearly works in comic book form, there's no reason it shouldn't clearly work in cartoon animated form.
well, cartoon anime form is even less of an excuse to take liberties because you don't have the production issues. There you go, Bob Johnson. You don't have the production issues that you have with live action. It doesn't cost you any more to draw a monster than it does to draw the main character. So
Right.
there shouldn't be any liberties. And I think when you look at Zack Snyder's Watchmen, there are some scenes that are very, very faithful, and there are some things where he took a lot of liberties. And I think mostly in chapter 2, the ending is where he took the most liberties, and I don't think we're going to see that here. I think they're going to give us exactly what Watchmen was supposed to be.
I remember when I first read. I know we're not really giving a blow by blow of the content. I guess we're assuming the content's over 20-something years old. You're probably familiar with it.
But if you read the book, this movie's like it's just a retelling.
It's page for page. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I remember when I first read Watchmen, the graphic novel. There's that scene where Manhattan deals with his concept of time, like how
Yeah,
he processes time. And I remember when I watched Watchmen, the Snyder live action. I remember not thinking it it landed. Like, the concept of time didn't land the way he
no,
processes it.
this did
Actually, it did. It did in this. Like, I was sitting here going, all of time is happening for him in
simultaneously.
simultaneously.
Yeah.
He's everywhere and nowhere all at once, and you really actually get that sense in this. And the characters are good. The comedian is such a horrific person,
Yeah,
you know. And you really kind of need chapter 2 to identify with why Silk Spectra's mom, no spoilers on that, uh, doesn't like completely denounce this guy who violently, abused her.
right.
Well, I don't know if we can use the word, but
No, we can't.
you
But
know what we're talking about.
you could kind of figure it
Yeah,
out.
he violates her in the worst imaginable way, and she doesn't like denounce the guy for it, which is always it was always weird. It's
Yeah,
hard, and you get some of the reason why in the second thing. In the second, what is going on here in the chat? What is this?
so
I'm
no, let
just
me
I'm just
see.
responding. I'm just responding to
Oh,
the
you're
to the people.
responding.
Yeah.
Look at
Nice,
you, multitasking. Good deal.
Rich. Nice.
Um. So yeah. So here's Watchmen in a nutshell, and Chris, definitely chime in. So
Yep.
basically, what happens is a murder takes place. This guy Blake is
Right.
tossed out of a window, and the police are really gently kind of investigating the crime scene. They seem very uninterested in getting involved. Blake seems to be involved in political stuff around the world, and they don't want to touch this thing. And they particularly don't want to get this Rorschach character involved because then
Right.
there's
He's
going to
already wanted for 2 murders at the time, and you know, so at the time, well, you got to get a little bit of background. So there was a time where we had like this golden age of superheroes, and you had the Keene Act, which outlawed superheroes, except for the ones that are working with the government. We've seen this in this trope in Marvel, but I think they did this first. Watchmen was the first time that we've seen this kind of trope where superheroes were outlawed because of the collateral damage and and what happened. So we see. I'm jumping ahead, but to understand the Keene Act sets up the world of what Watchmen is, and you have all these superheroes that went to retirement, and after the comedian is murdered, which is Edward Blake, then Rorschach, who's this kind of like
he's a vigilante,
the vigilante detective, kind of a cross between the Question and Batman,
right?
and he's trying to
That's
figure out.
that's
Yeah,
good.
right.
So yeah, the backdrop of the Watchmen world is superheroes were a thing that the public kind of were like for, and then they denounced them.
Right.
And so it's illegal to be a masked superhero on the streets at this point in the world. And so
Unless
that's
you're working for the government, is what they said.
right.
But on the streets, you can't. There's no vigilantes on the streets.
Right. And so that's why all these guys have retired at this point.
Right.
And so so it's really kind of like it's kind of a downer, It's kind of a downer to see this Batman character who's not violent like Batman, but he's got like the Batman billionaire tech stuff, who's like, life kind of sucks and it's boring,
Yep.
you know.
And then
Then you kind of have like this Starfront girl, right?
Yep.
Whose mom had her in the thing when she was a kid, kind of doing the pageant stuff.
Yep.
And she's like, "Listen, I'm glad not to have to be wearing the suit anymore." This is my
Yeah.
mom's.
Yeah. Low cut V. She complains about it, and and also we're in this alternate 1980-85 universe. Nixon is president. We're on the brink. The Cold War is becoming. It's really mirrored after kind of what happened in the Cold War, where the USSR was in Afghanistan and took over Afghanistan, and we're on the brink of nuclear war, a nuclear
That's
apocalypse.
something I think could have been clearer in this, actually, because by the time we get to the end of the story, we need to really feel like nuclear war is such a plausible reality in this world that it's really the forefront of why everything eventually transpires the way it transpires. And they
Right.
touch on the doomsday clock a little bit, but I feel like it's not really set up super clear.
And I think that's a good point because really the whole motivation, and if you've read Watchmen, you know where this goes, but the whole motivation, the whole the peak of the story is surrounded around the annihilation of the world.
Right.
And yeah, I agree with you. I think they could have shined more on that because I feel like in the comic there was a lot of talk about it. I mean, we saw a lot of like news scenes and stuff like that talked about
the imminent threat.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the one thing that they didn't acknowledge enough. And I think as we've seen the Watchmen comic, we've seen the Watchmen movie, we read the Watchmen comic, and I think they took a little bit of liberties because they feel like, okay, we are in a time constraint. We're trying to get this huge story in a time frame. I think they're almost assuming that the watcher knows the storyline.
Well, it also the idea should in theory get amped up a lot more when Dr. Manhattan leaves to Mars. Right. Which happens near the end of chapter 1. Dr. Manhattan goes on an interview. So what we see happening is there's a whole slew of stuff, right? Blake is taken out. Moloch.
Moloch is murdered, and they set up Rorschach as the murderer.
Right.
We see Vincent still alive at this point.
Hollis is still alive, yeah. But we see, the old team kind of being targeted, and Rorschach's going on Yes, Rich. Yes. Rorschach is going on a quest to go let the old team know that hey, someone's probably looks like they're gunning for soups.
Right.
Right? They're taking out masks.
And it's like the red herring of the film, right? Is that we're thinking that this is a whole plot to take out masks, and then as it gets exposed, we realize what the truth is.
Right.
But Rorschach is chasing this theory, this theory that like, hey, they're doing this, and everyone's a target, and we're a target, and Night Owl's a target, and Silk Spectre's a target, and what are we gonna do to band together? And then we realize things aren't what they seem to be.
Well, that's the other thing that's so good about this graphic novel and about this series is it is a mystery, you
It
know.
is.
And although I know the answer to the mystery of this content, I'm still enjoying the way it's being told. Right?
It wasn't what the graphic novel itself. It wasn't an easy read, and especially with Tales of Black Freighter and some of the other side stories.
Hollis's whole book is in there.
Yeah, so you have to. I mean, there were times where I'm like, "What?" I had to go back and reread and reread and reread, and sometimes it took me out of it because there's just so much. It's so the story's so dense that I really had to go back and like reread things to kind of
It was
understand what's going
it
on.
was nice that Hollis's book just kind of played over the credits, right? It
Yeah,
didn't actually interfere with the flow of the film at all. But it was
right,
nice. It was also nice that it was in there. You know, they
right.
cherry picked it out. Yeah. So Rorschach goes to inform all his ex buddies and partners that someone's gunning for soups. That's where we start to meet the whole collective. We meet Manhattan, who's basically a god at this point.
Yep.
You know, he can traverse time and space, but he's working on some sort of quantum physics machine device thing. And we meet Silk Spectre,
We meet Night Owl.
we meet Night Owl, we meet Verdict,
Oh, Vite,
Vi-
Osmantius. Yeah,
yeah,
Osmandius.
yeah, the guy with the most complicated name out of the book.
No, man. That's one of those things that it's funny because when I first saw Watchmen in the theaters, I never read because Rorschach is from the Rorschach test. That's where he got his name from, Rorschach test. So
Yeah,
I never read that word in my head. So I'm calling him something totally different. I'm calling Osmandius something totally different. And then I'm hearing them say that. I'm like, oh shit, that's how you say it. Like it was just funny because yeah, you never heard it spoken out loud. So I was like, you're pronouncing, I'm reading this whole book, pronouncing it differently in my head.
you know, honestly, chapter 2 is the better part of the
Of
series.
course, yeah. Because then
So
you get the jail scene with Rorschach, which
you're
Snyder
locked up
did
in here
justice
with
to.
me.
Me, I'm not locked up in here. Yeah, yeah,
And there's
Which
already trailers
I
for
love
the
that. I
second.
love that part in the movie. So,
yeah.
yeah, love
It
that part.
is,
Yeah,
man. And that actor kills it. Actor
yeah,
kills
and
it.
we're gonna get that here. But they did a good job capturing that in the live action, and I think we're gonna get that here.
See, I wonder if things land because I know the content so well. I wonder if someone who's watching it and doesn't know the content, if they're getting like the guy who's walking around with the end is nigh sign, the whole comic.
Right.
When he turns out to be Rorschach at the end, and the police rip his mask off, and you see him,
My
and you're like,
face.
"Yeah, I remember." When I was reading the comic, going, "Wait," and I flipped back to all
Yeah,
the times I saw the dude with the sign. I'm like, "Holy what? He was there the whole time." Like
yeah.
that moment is so good. I wonder if that lands watching this because I already know what's happening, right? I'm
Right.
just seeing if they're putting the seeds in there, and I see. Well, yeah, it looks like it plays out. Um, yeah, I don't think we need to deep dive the content. The content is so rich. The graphic novel is great, and this chapter, Watchmen chapter 1, is so faithful to the content that it's hard not to like it.
And the thing I liked is I feel like they've gotten a better handle on this style of animation. If you watch the first Superman movie that came out, and in this new generation of DC movies versus this one, it's like night and day. Like, I guess they picked a different animation studio. I guess they put more, I don't know what they did, but they figured it out. Because if you were watching Superman, it feels like even like the mouth was off. The mouth when it would talk was off. It was very, very, very clunky and very, very sloppy almost. And I felt like
Right.
this one, I felt like they got it dialed in, which kept me in the story even more because when you watch a cartoon, it's big. It's story and visuals it's a huge part of that, right? So if you're not feeling the style, you're not digging the style, you're not going to get involved in the story. And I know we joke about anime, but that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time with anime is because the style is not for me, and it's a
Yeah.
hard time. And I know these stories are good, and like I know I make fun, I know I poke fun, but I know the stories are good, but I have a hard time getting involved in the stories if I don't like the visual style of it. And the same thing goes for comics. I have a hard time with certain comics. I have a hard time with some of the Frank Miller stuff. The story is great, but it's such a messy style that sometimes if you're not going and expecting it, it's hard to be engaged because you're almost turned off by
I mean,
the
the art really lets the reader follow the story clean.
right.
Some art is like insane and a
Yeah,
little more. There's just a little more noise going on. Um, no, I will say this. As far as the content is very dense. And that's why Zack Snyder had just a tremendous, uh, potentially tremendous time adapting this because the story is so dense. And I thought he did a really good job for the most part. But things that the live action Watchmen did is they have Night Owl and Silk Spectre just killing people in that alley fight scene. I
yeah,
mean, they're stabbing people in the throat and breaking bones off of arms and just mercilessly tearing up these low level street thugs. And it's gratuitous and it's violent. It's nonsense violence that doesn't help us understand the characters, and it takes away from us understanding that Rorschach is the one who's over the line
right.
because these two aren't supposed to be over the line, but
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
they
Like
kill.
Night Owl is the voice of reason. I mean, the way he even looks, he's a little frumpy looking.
Yeah.
He's definitely more reserved. He's not the kind of guy that's going to stab a guy in the eye with a fork, where
Right.
Rorschach is.
So the way Snyder did that fight in the film instantly made me go, all right, he doesn't understand the characters. He doesn't understand that there needs to be a difference of morality between these guys and this guy for this guy to stand out. Like Rorschach isn't over the line if everyone's just killing everybody.
Right,
And so what was nice about this is, yes, they beat up the people in the alley scene. I mean, violent beat them up, fisticuffs, but they didn't kill them. And so you go, okay, cool. I can rock with this. The people who are adapting this understand that Night Owl and Silk Spectre are violent vigilante characters, but they're not killing, and that's what makes them different,
yeah,
right?
it's true. No, it's true. Etc. had a question. Did Zack Snyder ever make a director's cut for Watchmen? In fact, there's a director's cut and an ultimate cut.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like 12 hours long.
it's all slow mo, but yeah, there's a director's cut. I don't remember watching the director's cut.
Well, here's my funny Watchmen story, and you've heard it before. When Watchmen came out, at that point, it was probably my favorite graphic novel. It's in my top 10, 100%. I mean, it's one of the best graphic novels ever. And so I was very excited to see this film. And Zack Snyder's visuals are on touch, man. The guy is a visual
I mean,
storyteller.
that scene with Jeffrey Dean Morgan falling out the window as a comedian is just amazing.
God, I mean, visual spot on. He's a master. Every frame is a masterpiece. However, something really weird happened. I watched that movie and I got projectile vomit, man. I was like hardcore messed up from watching that film. It made me
Yeah.
upset and I walked away angry. I walked away angry and frustrated watching the movie. And when I was getting onto the subway to head home, I lived up in Inwood at the time. I had to rush to the trash can and just projectile like fire hose power vomit coming out of my mouth. That movie made me so just, I guess, upset to the stomach. At least that's how I'm processing it.
I
Could have
didn't
been
think you were. I think you may have had the flu, but
could have been something I. But here's what's weird about it. When the movie got released on DVD, I went and bought it, and I watched it again. I threw up. The movie made me sick to my stomach, and I threw up.
really.
Yeah, and then I watched it. I attempted watching it a third time in my life on like Blu-ray because I was like, maybe it's something weird. It's like I don't know, dude. I got nauseous and I had to turn the thing off. The movie,
Really?
the
You know
movie
what?
makes me sick. The
I think
movie
it's.
makes me sick.
I think it's because you had such a violent reaction the first time that your mind is automatically tied to that.
I don't know, but I was like emotionally upset with some of the choices Snyder made
Well,
specifically.
he made one huge choice he made at the very end was
Oh, I mean, let's not even talk about it. But yes, well, there was no faith. Well, but there was two things. There was no faith that it would work in a live action, and there was no attempt to make it work in the live action. There were no
yeah,
seeds planted for that to be the payoff,
yeah.
right? And so I understand what he had done with the ending of the film, but ETC wants to know if we've seen the director's cut for Rebel Moon. No, I haven't seen it yet. I just don't have an entire month of time I can clear off my schedule.
I have.
Is
And
it worth it, Rich?
why this man didn't release the director's cut and just gave us stripped out garbage at the beginning? Not saying it's any better. No, just let's make that clear. Not saying it's any better, but things made more sense in the
How
director's
much
cut.
longer was the film?
Maybe another hour. Actually, no, not
Damn.
even because the first ones were like like 2 hours, so maybe like another like 50 minutes or so, like 40, 50 minutes. So I'm just like, why did you release this stripped out garbage at the beginning with all these these points that didn't make sense, and then this is the director's cut, which should have been the original cut, and then the director's cut should have been way longer with the crap that you wanted to put in there, but you couldn't put in there.
Man.
Right. What's the difference when it's streaming? Like, I understand if you're releasing something in the theaters,
Right.
then there's time restraints, maybe. There's what's more marketable for an audience. But if it's
Streaming, just
streaming,
give us all the content.
Yeah,
well, not give us all the content, give us the definitive cut. Because sometimes the definitive cut actually doesn't want certain scenes in it. You know, if you shoot a film and you start editing the thing, you're going to instantly realize that if I let this go or I cut this down, the flow is going to be better. So you might not want everything. But you should just give us the definitive cut. If that's more content or less content, who cares? Just give us the better cut.
yeah.
Right.
Like, you're not trying to appeal to the studios who want to release your film in the theater. It's streaming. So
I don't know.
I don't
I don't know.
understand that. Of
It's
course,
Zack Snyder. Listen, you tell Zack Snyder he's doing something bad, he's going to get more peer reviews. This is
I
literal.
don't know. I don't know if
literal
that's.
out of his mouth quote.
I don't know. I don't know if that's Snyder, because I know also in television the way it works is a director is allowed a cut after they direct the episode. They get a director's cut, and then the studio goes and they do whatever they want with it, or they'll give the director notes, and the director can take the notes or not take the notes, and then the studio will hire an editor to finish the thing how they want it done. So a director's cut in television isn't always what the director cut, and you'll never see an alternate version of a TV show released, right? You only ever see the one cut, the thing that reaches the market.
Unless you got the Office Superfan episodes.
Maybe. And then for film, obviously what happens is the director makes their cut, the studios have their say, then they go back and they fight for years. Sometimes they finish a film or don't finish a film, and the studio usually gets their cut because they're the ones fronting the bill, right? And so you get the theatrical release version of the film. Later, it's always a cash grab. They give the director their cut. Hey man, you want to release a director's cut? What? Director gets paid more money to go back and cut a film? Sure, why not? I get to add and gorge the thing with scenes or adapt this or adapt that. Cool, great. But streaming? I guess I don't. I guess I don't get it. I mean, you're still dealing with a studio, right? It's still
True.
Netflix studio, and they might have some say like, "Man, this is too hard, and we
They
want to."
probably have an algorithm or they formula that's like it's going to get us the most streams, and if it's X amount of time, people will be straight
Doesn't
away
cost
from
them anything. Yeah, they probably have both cuts done within
it.
the same ballpark at the time. Anything else you want to say on Watchmen?
No, I don't want to rate it yet till we see chapter 2, which we definitely will because
Yeah.
I want to see how it ends up. But so far, I like where it's going. I'm happy with it, and this is the content. Warner Brothers Animation Studio. This is the content you need to be putting out because you've given us a couple years of trash. So thank you.
Well, there's that. Listen, I co-sign on the part that this is good content. If you're looking for good content, you like animated stuff, The Watchmen Chapter 1 is where it's at. I honestly, I wouldn't have been upset waiting to see Chapter 1 and 2. I don't think there's going to be a Chapter 3. I think it's going to be 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, I think so. The way it's cut, I think it's going to be 1 and 2 because that's kind
Feels
of
like they're going to wrap it up. So you might want to wait till Chapter 2 and just watch them both back to back so you get the whole ride of the story. Or if you watch this, you might help them think that they can fund more projects like this. So by the time chapter 2 is resolved, they're already fast tracking some other stuff like this. Highly endorse this content. Chris, you want to hit us with recommendations?
I do. Want to give me the song?
Recommendation.
All right. So we talk a lot about DC movies, and we kind of either crap on them. But there's a Marvel animated universe too, right? It's
What?
not as
Is there?
yeah. It's not as robust. It's not intertwined, but there is Marvel animated movies. So
They
I'm
have
gonna give
they have more series than DC does, though.
but there's a couple that are there's been some good ones, not great ones, some good ones. Now I'm gonna omit Spider-Man because Spider-Man is in a class of its own. So I'm omitting Spider-Man from the list. I'm talking like direct. So I'm talking about just animated movies. Um, Number one is Ultimate Avengers, the movie. Pretty cool. Kind of gives a background of Avengers. It's a cool story. It's a good time. Number two, Hulk versus. So there's two of them. So this is like a two-part movie: Hulk versus Wolverine and Hulk versus Thor. It's pretty cool. And then the way it's drawn in the original comic book style. So Wolverine has a short.
Do you have the whiskers?
Yeah, he had the I think he had the whiskers, but he may not have the whiskers, but the cowl is drawn very similar to like the original appearance of Wolverine.
Hmm.
So that's pretty dope. Number three, I have Planet Hulk, which I thought was
That was pretty good, yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, I really enjoyed the Planet Hulk series.
So you know what? You know what I hope they do? What's up, Ash? You know what I hope they do?
What?
What's up? I'll tell you what I hope they do. I hope they do a Cosmic Ghost Rider series.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Hmm.
That'd
Or
be
not
awesome.
series, but a movie. Like a
Yeah.
off.
Number four, I have is Doctor Strange, which was pretty good. It kind of was the Doctor Strange movie before we got Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And then the last I have it was a tie between Iron Man and Thor, but I like Thor, the Thor movie better, Tales of Asgard. So
Yeah, that was pretty good.
yeah, so check them out. So we talk a lot about the DC movies and stuff like that. Full coverage of Crisis, yeah, maybe, etc. I still haven't gotten through 3 yet.
No. ETC, the answer is probably no.
Yeah,
You talking about the one that's
out right now.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
the third one, right?
Yeah, the third one's out.
ETC,
So,
we're probably not going to, as a group, agree to unanimously cover that one. But Chris, I hear, might be doing a standalone video of its coverage.
Yeah.
maybe. All right, Bash, what do you want to show before we get out of here?
Who do
So
we got, Bash?
these are new Pokemon cards, but
Let me see.
Oh,
Which
all
characters
right.
you got? You got some Metagross?
Don't take them out. You can leave them in. Leave them in.
I'm saying this.
So leave it in.
So those are I put all of them in plastics sleeve, so
Okay.
none of them get damaged.
That's good. That's better than your dad does most
Yeah.
I
times.
keep my stuff in sleeves.
Hey.
And the first card is my weakest card out of all of them.
All right, let's see it. Let's see it.
The shiny.
Let me turn off. Let me turn off the.
Oh,
It is
Let me
shiny.
make
that's
these
the
big.
guy. That's the guy who's in the tent. All right, let's see it again.
Go ahead, show it again.
You got to turn
Oh,
off your blur.
Yeah, I'm turning off the blur right now. Okay.
There
my
we go.
blur's
Okay,
on.
now
Now,
show it one more time.
It's just too shiny.
it's just too shiny, Bashy. It's glistening.
Hold on.
Okay, I'll read it. This one is a snow runt.
Yeah.
Snow Rat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the guy who's in the tent
Shiniest.
looking thing.
That's the new.
It's a Pidgeot. It's a Bob.
Yeah.
Pidgeot. I know
Yeah.
that. I know that.
280 hit points.
Okay.
Nice.
The other one next to
This one is Armor Rouge with
Armor
his
Rouge.
260 hit points.
That's a
Nice.
word. All right.
so this next one
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
is a new one.
Show
All right,
it
let's
up.
see it. Let's see it.
This one is Agrapon.
Agapon.
210. It's pretty dope. Looks
That's
pretty
a
dope.
name. That's a name.
Yeah, you
All
see,
right.
it actually has. This one's actually cool. It actually has like
You want to
shards or whatever.
back it up a little bit. It'll be clearer. It is clearer, but it's harder to see.
Yeah, but you see, like it's shooting shards, and the shards are coming out of the picture, like into the card itself, which is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I
that.
see. Nice.
And this next after this card I showed you, and
Yeah.
it's really good. But
Yeah.
after this card, is a be
The banger, right?
the banger.
Game over.
It's a
Game
So
banger.
this
over.
one is Gouging Fire 230.
Bangers or sausages.
Nice.
Nice.
Nice. All right, let's see this last one.
I'm gonna beat him to it.
That the rarest new one I got.
Roaring
The
Moon.
rarest. Roaring Room.
Wow. That's very cool.
That's a name.
Yeah. Gold. Some of these cards, the values are going up on some of them. Some of them, we have an app that shows the values. Some of these cards are like $25-$30 already.
So I won
Yeah, that-
$150.
Yep.
You got to keep them. You got to keep them crisp.
Yep.
Keep 'em
He
crisp.
is. He's doing a pretty
Hard
good job.
case.
People try and trade him for the cards, and he says no.
Bash, you look like you got a very cool shirt on today too.
What you got? Jurassic Park. Yeah.
And it's from remember the little cartoon that was inside the movie when they were explaining how they did it. It's
Oh,
literally
yeah,
that
yeah.
cartoon. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, it's a school night, so we got to get out of here.
Well, Bash, thank you
Oh,
for
we'll
showing
find
us
it
your cards.
Beth, show them the cards one more time, buddy.
I lost.
We'll find it.
You lost
So-
it.
So here, I bet something to see it better.
Yeah, here I'll spread them out back here for you so you can see.
All right.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Bash, you wanna close this off?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Hey,
Tell them what to do.
Like,